guys, it's Friday night. Well, Saturday morning or later for you guys, because that's when this comes out. But it's Friday night for us. We're excited. It's been a hell of a week. A bunch of different crazy things going on, both locally, statewide, and nationally. So we'll chat about it. We got some definite concrete updates to do on the city elections, which I'll eventually get my stupid city guide built. I promise I'll get on it, guys. I will. Almost in Agreement at gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go to the website, almostinagreement.com. While you are there, check out that voter guide 23 that I'm building sometime very soon, I hope. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Like us, share us, subscribe to it, whatever it is that you can do on there to help get the word out. Tell your friends about us. I do have some interviews in the pipeline, trying to hammer down dates with some different people. Session review show with Elaine Davis is iffy, probable, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, almost again, everybody. Here we go. Hi, friend.
Hey.
I want to start off with the tanks. Would you want to start off somewhere else?
Say tanks?
Tanks, yeah. The KPD tanks that were rolling around
Gotcha.
East Knoxville yesterday for one old white dude.
Sure.
I think it's fucking crazy that we have, because that confirms that we have the city of Knoxville has at least two. Because the one in the footage from WBR that I shared to the group, the one in the footage is, they haven't painted it yet, so it's still like desert camo, like that tan color.
Yeah.
And I know that KPD has one that's painted like the squad cars. That's silver gray with the black and blue stripes.
They put stripes on it too.
Yeah, I know KPD has at least one. The one that looks like it almost looks like it's one of those duck boat things.
Yeah.
Where you could drive it into the lake and it'll float.
Right.
But I know they have one of those, and there were two Humvees that showed up.
I think it's like an armored like personal vehicle carrier.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So I know the city of Knoxville has at least two. Where county's bag, which county has at least one, but county likes their Air Force more than they like their ground. Although they do have a mounted unit, which I think is kind of weird in this day and age.
Yeah, you mentioned that. What do you mean by mounted unit? Like
Horses.
We have a horse? Okay.
Which means we have stables. We have the Knox County owns horses.
I don't think I've ever seen them deployed.
They don't come out often.
I think like parades would be one of the few things. I know like New York, that's kind of a semi more common thing. You would see it during like a parade.
But it works, and I think the mounted patrolmen in a city atmosphere, especially like large events.
You're up an extra 4 or 5 feet. And
if you're not, especially if you're a resident of New York City who doesn't normally interact with horses, I could see that being a quite intimidating thing to run up against in a crowd control situation and be like, you know what, I want to go over here where that giant animal is not. But yeah.
I was thinking about that, and I know there was a big spinning among a lot of law enforcement agencies post 9/11 that there was federal funding, and that's what a lot of agencies decided to use their money on, was like, hey, if you're going to give me $1 million, and they started buying, some of these aftermarket military surplus vehicles.
Whatever. And and again, like I don't know. I guess the question to me is, what are we doing? Like, I mean, it's that stupid question, like, what are we doing? Like, what is like, what situation because we talked about this a couple of years ago. So remember I was reading up on it, and there was a guy in Georgia. It's a little small township in Georgia who was running for like a county commissioner, like an alderman for the town council or whatever. And one of his big things was like militarizing of their police department. And it's like a small town of like 30,000. And he's like, why do we need this? Like, why are we spending money on this thing? And, when you get into a larger city format, which Knoxville's getting there, I kind of can open up a little bit of like, okay, maybe. But again, like the most recent situation that KPD deployed said unit was to a house with a guy in it who shot his girlfriend in the yard and then ran inside.
Right.
Like, what are we doing with this thing? So we got 6-7 officers piled in the back because it's an armored personnel carrier. We're going to drive through the front door. That's how we're going to breach the house to get them out. Like, I don't understand what the point is.
It's added layer of, I guess, protection if there did come down to a shootout. You're not trying to stand behind a car door or a car that isn't reinforced, basically. Because I don't think that our squad cars are...
That's a good question. That'd be an interesting conversation. I'd be curious to know if they have any layers of anything, whether they put a layer of Kevlar inside the door panels for a little bit, not like fully armored, but...
Yeah, I would assume not, but it's a possibility.
But, okay, so the question to be, again, going back like to the specific of this situation, you know, as far as I could tell from the story, looked like I had like a Saturday, what was it, Saturday Night Special, little 45 short, is what I think I saw in the picture. Little 6-shooter revolver, small revolver is what I think the guy had.
Yeah.
You know, he's in his house. He may have a whole magazine of rounds floating around that he can reload that thing with. But I don't know. It's a broader police question to me. Is like, you know, it's a standalone house. It's not like an apartment building.
That weapon was found after the fact. They didn't know.
Sure, I agree. I acknowledge that, and I apologize for bringing that leaning in. Okay. I was kind of leaning into that, but I apologize. It was not important to my overall theme of what I'm going for here. It's like, what is the need to immediately extract this man from the house? And that we need to send two...
Did they go in?
2 Humvees. I don't know.
No, they didn't.
They stood around the house.
Okay.
But again, what is the need for all that? Like, so is it an intimidation factor? It's like, look, there is military vehicles outside your home, and we will use them to come take you out if you don't surrender right now. Like, is it part of the negotiation tactic? Is that the point?
I would say that's more of a lesser fact of it.
Then what, Then what would you say is the number one reason that we have that a KPD, a police department the size of KPD, needs to have in a city the size of Knoxville needs to have multiple armored personnel carriers? Like, what's the situation where that would be? I guess the first question is: would you see this as an appropriate time to deploy said vehicle?
Probably not in that instance. I don't know. I don't know what the initial reports for. You know, what they thought they were responding to.
Right.
I mean, this is actually something I brought up to my friend that used to be on the Knox County SWAT.
Right.
When I mentioned some of these larger armored personnel vehicles. He mentioned, I think, on at least some of those models, they have like a drop door in like the middle of it, basically, to where if there was some kind of like weird situation, you know, they could get up and essentially be over top of someone they were trying to rescue and open up that hatch door and kind of pull them up to the bottom of it. It's where they're protected all around, outside of, you know, below the tires or below the frame of the vehicle.
Right.
And in that rare instance, that was something
and
that
at least
could
the
be
current
beneficial.
series that are out there are made for desert warfare, so they have pretty high ground clearance, so they could very easily straddle somebody and not actually drag them with the front bumper or whatever.
Right. But offer a little bit of protection.
I mean,
and that was one of the few instances that I remember of him like mentioning, because I brought that same question to him, and I'm like, well, why the fuck do we need these giant...
Couldn't we just get like an Astro van and just put a bunch of steel plating on one side of it?
It's very possible.
Drive between the person who is laying on the ground and the potential shooter,
right,
and just have a giant steel plate in the way, and then have people walk up and pull them out, and then drive the Astro van away and spend oodles and oodles less money and not be a fully militarized police department. I mean, if that, again, for the solution, it's an expensive tool,
right,
for a specific solution of the example you just gave.
Right.
And maybe the argument is, well, it is a multi-use tool, and that is one of the uses the tool can do, and there's 1,000 other things that it could do in the field.
With that kind of ground clearance, you could also use it in like flood situations, most likely.
Yeah, I suppose. I haven't really thought about that. That's my bad. I think that'd be when the fire department comes out, not the police. But that's just my biases at play.
In a natural disaster, you're using any
and all resources available. Sure,
right.
I
don't think the police department would then turn around and be like, "No, sorry, that's
this is a fire department issue.
That's violence only. Sorry, let me know if there's a gun on scene, and we'll bring out the big thing."
I mean, we're in Knox County, bro. There's a gun there. Let's go.
But the thing floats, right? Yeah, it does, but you know. Okay, I think there might be a guy down here with a knife. Like, okay, we're bringing it.
Diesel's really expensive right now, so you don't want us doing it. I promise. It's going to be expensive. I don't know. I fail to see, like, okay, so you've thrown out a couple of decent examples of very specific regular situations where it might be handy. Right. Like to me, and I brought it up, and it was my fault when I first put it out there because I wasn't paying attention that it was KPD on scene, not sheriff's office. So the initial throw out was that the sheriff's over here asking for a bunch more money,
right,
and all his tanks are out on the roads right now. It's like, well, maybe sell a couple of those tanks and you might have a little more money in your budget to pay people.
I want to say when we were in high school, the sheriff at the time got into, or there was a big to-do about some helicopters.
Yeah,
right.
They have 4. Well, 3 and a what do they call it? A cannibal.
What?
They bought a 4th one, but the only reason they bought the 4th
for parts. Gotcha.
is they cannibalized it for parts for the other 3.
Gotcha.
So there's 4 identical.
Well, they thought of it trying to be fiscally conservative and like, hey, let's buy an extra one just for parts.
Right. Because we need 3
right,
and parts for 3. I mean, I see them flying around. I had a Black Hawk fly over today, which always gets me a little wonky. It's like, why are Black Hawks flying over Knoxville? I know we have an Air National Guard base.
I was about to say we have.
I know we have an Air National Guard base. Like when I see the big C-130, flying fueler thingies,
right?
Because that is specifically what they train for at that
right.
air base. That is like their specific mission. Which I guess technically Blackhawks can refuel on that platform, and maybe that's what they were drilling today, and I just didn't see the plane. But I know a couple helicopters have like a post, like a rod that comes out, and they can hook up to air refueling platforms.
Where does it come out from? Because your blades are spinning at the top.
Yeah, no, it comes like out the front, like it's like a big old. I guess it's just a big hose, but a big solid hose that comes out the front, and so that little.
Because traditionally you've got that A130 or whatever that's above the plane, and the plane kind of comes in from the backside of it. The little hose just kind of hanging down diagonally. That's where they connect to do it. So I'm kind of wondering how it's almost a reverse from it, almost. Huh.
Yeah, it's like but see what I'm talking about? They got this big post that comes out. I don't know if it's always on there or it's an attachment they put on for missions they know they're going to be up in the air a little bit longer.
All right.
How
you match speeds. I mean, you're doing an airplane versus a helicopter, so you don't have the same forward momentum.
Yeah, but those Blackhawks can hustle.
Oh, definitely.
So, but it looks like some of these they have them running off the wingtips of the plane instead of out the middle of the fuselage.
A few different ways, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say that National Guard base, I don't think they're exclusive to just refueling. It's probably that's their main.
I don't know. I think about these things, and it's like I don't know how much a Blackhawk costs to construct from scratch, but I think about these things, and I think about how much it costs me to drive across town,
right?
And how much, because again, putting it in the broader picture of we're a week and some change away from the debt ceiling deadline. So like June 1st, if we don't figure out, if the federal government, if Biden and McCarthy or whatever don't figure out this budget and / debt issue, we're going to default on our debts or whatever the fucking crazy shit that is. And it's like we're having, like, this is the big political conversation on the national news front. And I'm thinking about this helicopter that probably costs, I don't know how many $1,000s a minute in the air. Yeah. A couple $1,000s an hour at least in fuel cost.
Probably.
And it's like,
add it all up. Yeah.
Right. It's like, these guys need to train. That's the point. We need to have them ready when they need them. That's the whole point of having this thing exist. But maybe in times of leanness, we trim what we can. And I think, a $5,000 training, or $5,000 worth of fuel for a training mission, maybe we could postpone that a little bit and make sure, Grandma and Grandpa get their Social Security check.
You don't support our troops,
I don't. Not like that, I don't. I don't at all. It's dumb. Like it's. I guess to roll into the whole national debt conversation, it's like the Republicans are out here trying to float a balanced budget without cutting military spending. It's like, what are you doing? There's no way. It's not possible.
I don't get. I mean, it's got to the point now where I don't see why there is still that much pushback, unless there's just that much of constituents that
you don't support our military. You just gave the sales pitch.
Well, I know.
All right,
that's stereotypical, like what I would consider dumb fuck version of it.
But as we discussed last week with young Jamie, lawyer Jamie, is that I think we agree that the general populace is kind of dumb fuck about some of these things and how they actually work. I don't say they're dumb fuck in general. I think most Americans are dumb when it comes to national budgets, national spending, what the national government does, what they don't do, what they're supposed to do, and what they're not supposed to do. What elected officials are, who even their own elected officials are. I think a lot of people have other shit going on in their lives that they don't really care to keep track of. And I think the government knows that, and the people involved do, and so they do what they want to do, knowing that we don't really pay attention. And then all of a sudden shit like this comes up, and people that don't normally pay attention are like, what's going on here, guys? We need to fix this. And then they get pitched, well, if they want us to they want us to go in more debt. What happens if you go in more debt? You go bankrupt and the bank comes and takes your shit. Well, what happens if we keep going into debt? Well, it's a little different functionally, but normal people don't think of it that way. Yeah. But I think there's
a decent bit of finger pointing of like, well, this is why the debt's out of control, or this is why the debt's out of control.
Yeah.
You guys are spending it on this, and you guys are spending it on that. And you guys want to give, tax breaks on this.
And you guys aren't taking enough from these people, and those people aren't paying as much as they should be in taxes, and you made it so that these...
Which is not always wrong, but it doesn't mean they're not always right.
Right.
Imagine
if we could do both things.
As AC likes to say, it's complicated.
Imagine if we could do both things, cut spending and, solidify income revenue streams for the IRS so that we don't, so that we could get a couple more $1 billion a year in taxes from people that are not paying them through fancy legal means or whatever the fuck it is, and spend less money. That'd be crazy. But that's not an option, because if we agree to spending less money...
It's too easy to with the breadth of our budget, to point at singular points and try to say, well, that's out of control, but don't look at this.
Depending on the one that drives me the most nuts. Just because they haven't passed an audit in like 20 years. And
I almost sent you an article on that was kind of funny, but...
Do you remember the number? Like how?
Not exactly, no.
I can't. It was a couple trillion over like 15 years. I can't remember exactly what the combination is. And when you get down to military spending, a couple $1 trillion in 15 years isn't that huge a number. Sorta. It is. I mean, it is. It's still trillion with the T.
You want to hear something funny? That I read an article, and I'm assuming it's pretty truthful, that you probably wouldn't like. So apparently, with this whole like Defense Department budget or whatever. Apparently they overestimated the amount of arms and total packages that have gone to Ukraine. They figured out that they overestimated the things that have gone there by like $3 billion, but they've already gotten the approval for. So now essentially the U.S. government now has $3 more billion worth of stuff we can send them without having to ask Congress for more money, but it's already paid for.
I mean,
I don't know if that was them just kind of going back and like, oh, well, this thing actually didn't cost us that much. So, yeah, we'll say that was $10,000 for that missile.
Not to go deep into the Ukraine mess, but the other part of it, too, is there are long-time, like, high-ranking officials that are concerned about our personal capacity at this point as a nation with how much we've given away.
Right.
And, that's problematic.
I don't see it as... I mean, do we have a threat at the moment? That you would foresee a full-scale war to where we would then...
Okay, so
require our full arsenal of
I'm not under goods. I'm not under direct threat right now, so I'm going to sell my guns. So that when I...
Did you sell all of them?
Most of them.
Most of them? Can you still protect yourself with what you have?
With a single one, maybe. But
right now we're trying to compare a single person to a fucking arsenal of a government. So we're not looking at apples to apples here. But I get your premise.
Assuming...
But at the same time, we're not hapless. We haven't... Because I think we've pretty much said, our best tanks and like our best airplanes we're not sending over. So we still have all of those. We still have our probably hundreds of destroyers and aircraft carriers and everything left and right. Nuclear subs. We're not sending nuclear subs over there.
It was like a month or so now when there was a big segment on the CBS NewsHour with one of the top admirals or whatever talking about. Mm-hmm. Like he was talking about how behind they are in capacity and this, that, and the other, having nothing to do with Ukraine.
Capacity of
like number of warships, number of aircraft carriers, number of planes on ships. Amount of rounds and stuff like that. He's like, it was really funny because he was like, we're ready, because this whole thing was about China. It had nothing to do with Ukraine. Nothing to do with Russia. Mm-hmm. It's all Chinese, like the concern over China and Taiwan and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's like China's doing all these exercises. They're getting a little bold with what they're doing and where they're using where they are out in the sea and stuff like that. And we're ready. We can defend us, but we're behind. It's like, well, okay. So you need more stuff or not?
Right.
No, we could take care of this, but we need more stuff. I don't understand. Like those two don't.
I mean, part of that may have just been a push to then add more demand.
But then it rolls back into
demand for then the creation of arms. It's
right, and it's a process. It's not like you can be like, okay, we need a new aircraft carrier tomorrow, and poof, it appears. It takes probably a couple of years to kick out one of those ginormous aircraft carriers nowadays. But rolls back to the beginning though. It's like, well, depending on missing trillions of dollars, like, well, maybe instead of losing it, you could have maybe spent a couple bucks on a new thing for the Navy, and then you could account for where that money went. That'd be cool.
But I mean, I also wonder sometimes with some of we do it in Europe, and I think we've done it recently with South Korea as well, kind of like these military exercises. I wonder how much rounds, in war games basically. I'm assuming live rounds aren't used, but I mean they're at least using blanks. So I mean,
it depends what they're like. I mean,
it's kind of one of those.
They probably pick up some random old fishing boat and float it out there and let the guys do target practice and shit at some level. I mean, most of the war games, to me,
I get the concept of actual trying to more simulated live action.
Right.
You can't learn everything. You can get in a plane simulator and fly a plane around, but eventually we're going to need to get behind in cockpit and actually show us. They also tend
to always do these war games within, sight of one of the people that are on our shit list anyway. Like, we don't do war games off the coast of...
I mean, there's no doing out of sight of it.
We're not doing a war game off the coast of Seattle. We're doing war games in the South China Sea. We're doing war games in the...
So if we're doing war games with South Korea, where else should we do war games with them?
I don't know. I'm just saying,
I'm just saying it's a regional thing,
right? And
that's where a lot of our fleets are in the South Pacific.
Why is South Korea trying to make sure that their army is up and ready to roll? Because they have a continuous and still technically in combat with North Korea, and so they want to put on a show, just like Kim Jong-un likes to shoot his stupid rockets to show that he's got them.
Oh, Rocket Man!
I'm just saying, like that's part of the geopolitical game. We're going to do these war games here where you see us. It's the same thing that China did when there was some talks with the Taiwan stuff going on. They started, they did a war game in the South China Sea, I think it was shortly after the Ukraine invasion. Oh no, it was with the whole Pelosi thing.
Yeah.
As soon as Pelosi left, they did a whole set of war games right off the coast of Taiwan.
Right.
In international waters, but they could have done them plenty of places, but they did it there.
Right.
Because it was a political show they were putting on.
Yeah. That's definitely a part of it.
I'm just saying, that's all I was trying to say. And you're like, well,
and I'm not saying it, and I'm saying that it's not explicitly just a show of force.
But
that also it's logistically like, this is the closest place we can put this shit on to get the two parties together.
Right. So, okay. So bring it back local, and we're talking about tanks and local government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mr. Spangler went to County Commission this week in their work session and talked to them about what he wants and why he wants it, this, that, and the other. Apparently he kind of was fairly explicit putting a bunch of commissioners on the spot who ran as, first responder, back the blue candidates.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you guys ran on this and you take every opportunity to tell me how much you support what we're doing. Well, this is me asking for support, and I feel like I'm getting to know. And it seems likely we'll find out Monday or Tuesday when the actual voting meeting on the budget comes up next week, whether Commission makes any push to try to meet him somewhere on this budget, or if he's going to, and it'll be curious whether Spangler at the end of the day, he can just choose to be like, okay, fine, and go on doing what he does, or bring up this lawsuit thing.
It just dawned on me to go back a year when... this went right around the time of year where they're reapproving the yearly budget. Was this asked for last year or the year prior?
No.
Is this?
You know why? I can tell you why.
Why?
Because Spangler this time last year was running for office against Jimmy. J.J. Jones.
Makes you look bad to ask for money?
Absolutely. If I
think that would make you look better because he's asking for money to raise the...
Right, but the reality is with Knox County budget, the only way he's going to get what he's asking for is with a tax increase. The same reason that Mayor Kincannon did a tax increase for city residents last summer on last set of budgeting, and she's not doing it on this set of budgeting. Because she is currently officially a candidate for the mayor this cycle. You don't do budgets. You don't mess with people's money unless you're doing it in their favor when you're asking for their vote.
Yeah, but the tax increase would not have any blowback, I would assume, upon the sheriff at the time. He's like, I'm asking for money. Like, I don't care how the hell you do it. I'm just asking for more money.
Right, but okay, if I'm Jimmy...
If you guys got to raise taxes,
if I'm Jimmy,
so be it.
And I'm running against him, I say, the only way Spangler's going to get that money for these officers that he's asking for is if they raise taxes on you. So if you vote him in, he's going to make your taxes go up. Just politically speaking, if I'm running against Spangler, that's going to be one of my positions.
Yeah, but I mean, how detrimental would it be? Like, well, okay, yeah, but I'm trying to fight for pay increase to the people that protect you, whatever.
There was a great set of conversation that I was part of on the colloquy today when they were talking about how essentially if Spangler gets what he wants, a starting deputy for Knox County Sheriff's Office is going to get paid more than a starting teacher for Knox County Schools.
Right.
And is that an appropriate comparison in value? And we talked about this earlier today. I think it's a false equivalent, but, that is something that, the colloquy at least are semi-engaged people, so they know a little bit about what's going on. But I think that would have been that same question would have come up last year. And so that same thought process is, well, even if I agree with the wanting that increase for the deputies, it's going to have to come with a tax increase. Now,
but does it?
Yes, with the way the Knox County budget is, pretty much yes. Without cutting school spending, which the county does have a little bit, but not much play in school spending. Without cutting Parks and Rec, without cutting engineering and roadworks and all that stuff, without taking significant chunks out of those things.
Is there no fat to trim?
I mean, not according to Jacobs. And he's the one that's playing the other side of this game. And so he's like, I could... And I mean, that's some of the stuff they talked about at commission this week. And I think Rhonda Lee had kind of thrown out the idea that maybe we should cut some of the local part of the schools out, which is an insane thing to say out loud, whether you believe it or not.
Right.
But to give a little credit to your state, so is if Spangler had done it during an election cycle and won, I think it would be much easier for a mayor and commission to go, you know what? You guys voted him in knowing that we're going to have to raise taxes to fund what he's asking for. So you guys voted it in, so I feel like it's okay for us to raise taxes on you, even though I don't want to. You guys essentially voted for the tax raise. At least would be the argument out of the mayor's office, even though the mayor says, I'm not raising taxes.
Yeah, but I don't know if as many people would put that two and two together. The automatic, like, oh, well, I voted for that sheriff because he wanted to increase salaries of the sheriff's department. I didn't realize that was going to come with a 6% tax increase across the board or whatever.
Yeah, I think they said it was 7 cents, a 7-cent property tax increase. So 7 cents per $1,000. I can't remember what the math is.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that like Scott and Jesse talk about, and like I get the premise, but it's like a specific detail. Why don't you just say 7%? If it's 7 cents on the dollar, just say 7%. Like we do all these weird little things in certain conversations. Like I've bitched about like service the debt. You hear a county commissioner or a mayor talk about servicing the debt. It's your fucking loan payment. That's all it is.
You paying the loan is servicing your debt.
That is what. Yeah, when you hear Mayor Jacobs or
fancy way of saying I paid my loan.
We're paying that. No, it's like so. Like on the budget, on all the budgets we're seeing floating around right now, there's a section of the budget that is debt service.
Of just going a portion going to the accruing debt.
Right. So we sold these we sold these bonds, debt. And we have to pay these bonds back. We actually have straight up bank loans that we took out of a bank. Whatever it is, when a municipality owes money, they don't say paying their loan; they say service the debt. And it's like, why don't you just say paying your loan like normal people? Because they want to be confusing. It's my opinion on it, at least. They want it to be like kind of weird. and abnormal.
It may just be more nomenclature of that's how they speak at that level of economics.
Right, but your job as an elected official is to be the between the nuts and bolts of how this machine works and the people that voted to put you in there to help control the machine.
Well, who are they talking to when they use that?
I mean, like
that phrase. I don't know.
When we were doing the whole when the stadium thing was going on, I had those.
I know Scott and Jesse were using them. I'm talking about in general outside.
Well,
of that.
I mean, so like I'm, maybe Chris Caldwell and Stephanie Welch gave me more credit than they should have when I did my stadium shows with with those two and Mamontoff. Yeah. And they're all sitting here talking it was Becky Massey. Well, I think it was the first one. Becky Massey was the one that I said, hold on a second. When you say service to debt, what does that mean? Yeah.
I understand the words. I don't know what that means.
And Becky Massey is sitting in the room with me. She is in my home. She's got to have at least some feel of who I am as a human being. And to say service to debt to me, like I know what that means, I think goes back to my whole they don't relate to us as normal people. Because you wouldn't say that to somebody if you're paying your car, you paid your car off now, right?
Yeah.
But when you were paying your car off and somebody says, hey,
did you service your debt this month?
Right. Or no, the other way around, it's like, I finished servicing the debt on the car. Well, you wouldn't say that to somebody. It's like I paid my fucking car off. That's how normal people talk. I mean, hell, and you stay in the car industry when the terms.
So is there a difference? Is servicing the debt the same as paying towards the loan or paying it off? Is it both?
It's just
paying towards it. Okay.
Payments to the debt. So it
could be both. Okay.
Right. So I mean, generally speaking, I suppose most debts that the state or that a municipality incurs are going to be bond issuances. And so if you issue a $1,000 bond, you guarantee, $100 a year or $110 a year for 10 years. And so you're servicing the debt on that $1,000 loan you took, or that $1,000 bond you sold, I guess, technically. But I mean, it's just it's just you're paying your loans off. Yeah. And some of those loans are loans from the state. Like, I mean, I believe that the city can borrow money from the state with approval and stuff like that, or the city can borrow money from the federal government. I think.
I don't think so.
But I don't know. Anyway, it's a stupid term, and they need to stop. It's just dumb. Like I can't help but feel like it's an intentional move for people that are inside of it, that know that it's a weird term that a lot of people don't quite understand, and so they use that term to keep it vague. Right. Because when you say we got, Knox County broke $1 billion, $1.02 billion budget this year, and when you look down the thing and it says like $200 million or $100 million in debt service this year. It's like, okay, whatever. I don't know what that means. It's 10% of our total budget, but whatever.
Yeah, I could probably read into it, but yeah, it's not a clear, straightforward kind of word association.
Right. And so, like, and I get it. Like, one of the things
that probably when I first guessed, like, okay, servicing the debt is like paying your debt, paying what you owe.
Right.
Okay.
Or at least paying that's the interest portion of the debt, and the payback of the actual debt is somewhere else. I don't know.
Right.
It has something to do with we borrowed this.
Doing something good to something that's bad. So you're, yeah.
And like one of the things I've learned over time, and actually probably more messing around with politics than I did in the business side of things, is the way it's not as good now as it used to be. But the way the world is structured, or the way the U.S. economic system is structured, it's a good thing to be in debt. And that's weird to me. Like, it's one of those, as an individual.
Where and how?
A simple example is when you buy a home, you go into debt. It's usually the biggest thing anybody goes into debt for.
Right.
And between the amount you agree upon and the period of inflation between when the purchase was made and the period of time you paid off. It's like one of the things is naturally over time, due to inflation, among other things, wages go up. So if you buy a house that you can afford at your current wage, let's say, just for conversation's sake, say we're at like $15 an hour is normal wages. You buy a $200,000 house right now, even with the interest rates as bad as they are, a $200,000 house right now, you're paying like $1,600-$1,700 a month, right? Well, you fixed rate mortgage that. 10 years from now, you're paying that same $1,500 a month in mortgage payment, but you're up to $22 an hour in pay because over time wages just push up, theoretically. But so what used to take you 20% of your working hours to pay this is now only taking 15% because the number of your loan didn't change. The amount you were making in the same time period did.
Right.
And so it's actually a bonus to you because of inflation to be in debt for things.
Right. Another thing I learned until like a year or two ago that I guess on your taxes you can write off
interest payments.
Interest payments.
Right. Not the debt itself.
I guess what you've paid into your interest, essentially.
Right. So, and generally
what you
speaking,
paid towards.
Right.
Your
Depending
interest.
on like with mortgages, especially because they're complicated, but with mortgages, especially on the front end of it, you're paying more in interest per payment. Like literally your first payment on the 15th year of your mortgage is an even split. So your principal and interest is 50-50. So anything in your first 15 years is more interest than principal. Anything in your last 15 years is more principal than interest.
That's something I learned when I had a car payment. So every time I went in to go make a car payment, I don't know if it worked or if it made any fucking difference, but when I'm like, hey, do this, apply it to my principal.
Right. Now,
like I know interest is broken into it, but I'm like, hey, apply this to my...
Right.
I guess it wasn't necessarily when I was paying my monthly payment, but if I was doing a payment over, I'm like, hey, here's $500, apply this to my principal.
Right. Well,
which they said they couldn't really do. They could do like $499.99, but something of that payment had to go towards quote unquote interest.
That's weird.
But it used to be. But at least it brought down my principal of what was owed.
Right. Car loans used to not, but since cars have gotten more expensive and the loan periods have gotten longer, they've started doing that. Like it used to be where a car loan was not was a fixed interest, not a compound interest. Where if you took a car loan at 5%, it was instantaneous. So it would be like if you took a loan for $1,000 to buy a car, and it was at 5% interest, you would in 3 years or whatever you would pay $1,050 over the period of time. So that interest was immediately applied to the total, and you just paid it off. And so it didn't matter if you paid it off earlier or not; the interest was there.
Yeah.
Where with compound interest, each time your statement is generated,
your percentage is based on your principal owed.
Right, your interest is applied to the principal owed, and accounted for.
Right,
and so and so when you if your compound interest, yes, if you're prepaying principal, then it's less principal for your interest to be taken against.
Yeah. And
so, eventually, technically over the period of the loan, if you paid 10% over each time, you may save a couple hundred, or maybe even a couple $1,000s, depending on what the total cost is, because the interest wasn't applied to that money that you were paying ahead of time.
Yeah.
But
I don't know what my auto loan was set up as initially.
I mean, like I said, most loans nowadays are compound, are more like mortgages than they are old school. Because I remember talking to a car guy years ago about when I was buying a car, and it's like, it doesn't matter if you pay it off tomorrow or 10 years from now, or the end of the term, the interest is we're getting our interest, period.
Right.
Which, it's a different way to do it. It's cheaper. It's cheaper for me as the consumer because I'm just getting charged 5% on the original amount, not 5% on whatever's there every month or every year, or whatever compound rate, whatever compound time period we're set up for. But so anyway, Spangler's, we'll see. I mean, from all accounts, Spangler has no further political ambitions. He's termed out. Well, he's sheriff termed out, which means he can't run again for another cycle.
Yeah.
So he could run in. This cycle will end in 24. He can't run in 24, but he could run in 28
and get quote unquote reelected again.
Right, which is the Jimmy thing. Yeah. But yeah, it's a. I don't know. I don't see. Law enforcement in and of themselves is a solid voting block, and so getting them big raises would be good for him, but he's not getting elected, so it doesn't hurt him either.
Which one had a semi-scandal that was coming about recently?
I mean, both of them with the.
I'm sure, yeah, both of them probably have a little something. I thought one had a little bit more major of things that happened in years prior.
Well, both of them are like with the G12 or the G13 immigration thing. Both of them were kind of getting shit for that. Those though where if you're picked up.
No, I think this had to do with deputies working like off the clock, like on like weekends and shit, and we're like doing shit for the sheriff, kind of on the side. He had them doing like labor, random bullshit. I want to say there was something to do with that. I think there was something a little bit worse, but I think that was at least the more vanilla version of some stuff that was going on. It may have been a surrounding county sheriff, but it was somebody like an East County sheriff that got into some shit. Apparently he had some of his deputies out like working on his hunting lodge, putting a roof on or whatever.
I mean, and
it's kind of one of those things like, are you going to say no to your boss?
Well, but you're also getting underpaid. I might.
Right.
There's some. I had some pop-ups in my my Channel 10 app that I saw earlier. I'm waiting to see if it comes out. Apparently, they've started sending out the TCAP scores for third graders.
Already?
Yeah. Well, they have to have them because
in the school year.
Well, no, like there's.
Well, they have to decide whether or not you need remedial for third grade.
Right. Like so, essentially, as I understand it, as of right now, just for this year, there's some law stuff was in the flux. I don't know if it passed or not, but as of right now, if you didn't score a certain amount on the TCAPs, you have to go to this summer program, the summer learning camp.
I'd have to. I think there was an option. I think it's outside of repeating. You could either
right. But well, it depends. If depending on how, like there was a couple of different brackets of if you're under a certain amount, but above another amount, you have to take summer or a tutor with you in fourth grade.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And then there's another section that you have to take summer and the tutor, or you have to return to third grade, or if you're super low, you just have to return to third grade. And so the problem, like the sucky part, is like, you got to repeat third grade if you don't do these things. I mean, it might not be an easy ask for certain families, especially since they're just going to get the official announcement that they have to do it tonight, tomorrow, Monday. Like, they don't know that they have to do it yet or not. A lot of the school system, a lot of Knox County schools, from what I understand it, they went ahead and invited a bunch of kids that didn't do well on the test last year. So second graders that they already knew were behind last year, or that grades in said subject, like a second grader or a third grader this year, that his regular reading grades aren't great, and they're guessing. Like I think they invited almost all of the school districts, like all the students anyway. And they were preparing for having like just 5 more weeks of school.
They did this last year?
No, this right now.
Okay.
Like I think they prepped it that way so that if the numbers are as bad as they're assuming they are, they're going to be there. But I have heard some stories about kids getting waitlisted, like parents that were wanting to add their kids because they got the letter saying that the Knox County Schools is advising it, and Knox County Schools reply is, maybe we've got to make sure that the required kids have room before we put in optional kids.
But there was a parental, I guess, desire for that added
right. We're doing it.
Education outside of it.
Our kids are doing it.
Even if not needed, it's like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and just give some extra.
Right. They're not required. They were invited last year, and with all the pandemic and all the craziness, they're like, you know what, let's just take a summer and have a normal summer. But hey, guys, do better, because if we do this again, you're going. And so they both got invited again. But like I said, the younger, like he's A's and B's with everything. And he got invited. The elders got some issues.
I want to say, thinking back, I don't know if I ran into it here, but it might have been when I was still living in Georgia. There was summer school. Basically, it's like an additional education. It wasn't like summer school because you did bad the previous year, but it was summer school was trying to get like an extra leg up.
We did it in Wisconsin, but it was always like extracurriculars. Like I did an archery class, and I did a tennis class, and I did some other whatever.
So that could be cool.
Summer programs. And then But then they also had a, like, you're too far behind, you got to do this or repeat a grade summer school too. But that was summer school. It was summer camps or whatever they call it, the stuff that I did.
I remember my parents, like, right after, I think it was our freshman year, the high school had just changed the thing that for math classes, if you got a D, you had to repeat, that it didn't count as a credit, basically. I got one my freshman year, got a D in math. My parents put me in summer school. But it was like right after. I could have gone on to, actually where you and I met was geometry.
Yeah.
I could have gone on to geometry without that.
Oh, holy shit, but if they hadn't changed that rule, where would we be today? That's crazy.
Same place.
You wouldn't have been in the geometry class, or you would have been in...
Yeah, that's it. I would have been in it either way.
Oh, okay.
Because it was like right after they changed that, they're like, oh, if you got a D, you don't get credit for it. But I had just gotten a D, which I would have been in the clear.
Got it. Okay. Whew. That was a close one. That could have been... I mean, they could have changed our worlds.
It was in the past, man.
I know, but like it's...
Tis already come to fruition, so there's no going back now.
Truthiness. You're stuck with me forever because of
no going back
because
now.
of your math grades.
That's right.
So anyway, there's been some reporting that some of the, like, apparently, you know, which I guess I'll give WBAR credit, even though I like to hate on them a lot. One of the reporters or whatever, had made contact with all the superintendents in East Tennessee and said, "Hey, let me know when you get the list." And so they're reporting that a couple of the school boards have started receiving their lists, but the state has it on a no-talk list until all counties get theirs or some shit like that.
As far as trying to list, like,
what students are required,
the quantity of
what students,
is that what they're looking for?
Right. The list is what students are required.
As soon as the general thing is trying to figure out a percentage of, like, hey, 5% of this grade level.
Right. But, I mean, I guess from the way the article that I read on it from WVR a little bit ago was read, it said, you know, I think it was Cook County Schools is one of the ones that had reported into them, and, like, Jefferson County Schools or something like that. And basically they were like, you know, they said they got their list, but they're not allowed to talk about it until everybody gets theirs or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's not, they can't say how many total, what percentage of students, they can't say which students, which I think it would be impolite if they just said which students, period.
Right.
But, you know, of your 20,000 eligible students, 10,000, 5,000, they can't say until it's all said and done. But it will give the school boards a little bit more time. They can go ahead and start trying to figure out if they have enough things in place, how short they are, maybe give a couple teachers, be like, hey, you know what? Things went better than we thought. You can take summer vacation. Or we need to borrow some teachers or whatever.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's a crazy story. But again, I think it goes back to, you know, a bunch of other stuff we're talking about. Like, I think, like, I don't disagree with the premise. Third grade reading level.
Have we gotten back to having enough teachers? I know for a while, I don't know if it just had to do with just random sicknesses of flu and RSV, etc.
That's a good question.
There's a while there was a lot of substitutes that were having to come in and fill spaces.
And apparently at Rocky Hill Elementary School, it is the year of fourth grade teachers getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Like 5 of the 7 fourth grade teachers are, like, pregnant right now. Mm-hmm. Like, we did field day the other day, and it was like, it's hot. You guys are running around. Is this a good idea? If you talk to your doctor about this, it seems a little questionable. This one chick's like 37 weeks pregnant, still working, throwing a football, and field day. It's like, all right, go get it, girl.
Yeah, there's people that do that.
I mean, obviously I watched it happen. I'm just saying, like, it was it was impressive and kind of scary. Like, it's like, what happens? Like, how scary? Anyway, doesn't matter. That was happening. But, yeah, so we should find out over the weekend those actual numbers and how many kids are going to be involved in it, and if there's a percentage of kids and how many kids are going to have to repeat third grade. But again, like, I get the premise. Like, I think I actually don't necessarily disagree with the overarching idea of by third grade you need to know how to read and read to understand. Because from here on out, we're not
just give up and be like, I hope you figured it out next year.
Right, well, because from here on out, we're not teaching you to read anymore. We're using reading as a tool to learn these other things. You know, we're using reading. We're reading instructions on how to do this sort of math. We're reading the history of Western civilization. We're reading this.
Yeah, I guess third grade, you're still gathering, conceptual language skills.
I mean, that. My understanding is that's why it's made such a big deal. It's third grade reading and like seventh grade math are the two like like hard red lines for the State Board of Education.
Gotcha.
So and there's a bunch of stuff going on in District 5. That's not District 5. I can't remember what they call the subgrouping. Basically the Center East Knoxville schools, the way Ryswick divided the school system up. It's like Section 5 is the minority districts have the lower performing districts and stuff like that. And so they're creating a plan to get them to catch up to the rest of Knox County schools, which for funding and other things and state recognition levels and stuff like that is the most room for growth, I guess. So it's not a bad thing to target. I don't know. Do you want to go to campus or you want to stay in the city?
Let's flip a coin.
I don't have a coin to flip.
Tails.
I didn't pick. You didn't tell.
What was the second thing you said?
So stay in the city?
Let's stay in the city.
All right. So the official election ballot cutoff happened yesterday, Thursday. So we have a list of 18 that got a petition, filled it out, got enough signatures, turned it back in. Now, for technicality's sake, Chris Davis, I mentioned you on the show, and that makes you happy. You're welcome, Chris Davis. This coming Thursday, anybody on this list has until this coming Thursday to change their mind and quit. So we'll have no more than 18 total candidates. We could have a few people drop. Some interesting stuff that I learned today when Scott and Jesse were talking about it. It is very rare. I think top of the list of the rare weirdness is this is the second time in 30 years that municipal judge John R. Rawson Jr. has been opposed. He has held the office since the late 80s, I think is what Scott said. And he was appointed and then ran for re-election unopposed. And then has run re-election unopposed and has only been opposed once, and I think he said it was 2003.
Wow.
And then 2007, 2011, 2015, 2019, he ran unopposed. And now this year, not only has he got opposition, but he has 3 people vying for that seat. And it's a part-time judge. It's not even a full-time judge. I didn't realize that part.
What kind of judge is this again?
This is the municipal court.
Municipal court. Okay.
So this is your traffic tickets, your speeding violations, your anything KPD writes you a ticket for.
Yeah.
Shit like city ordinances on property stuff.
Yeah.
Like the city takes your car because it's broken down in your front yard and you live in the city and you go there and be like, I'm allowed to have that car there and those city ordinances here. And he oversees those cases. Yeah. But apparently it's only a couple days. It's only a couple days a week that they run that court, and so it's a part-time gig. Which I'm curious if you're allowed to still practice as a lawyer while being a judge, part-time. I would have to say they're going to have to let you as a part-time gig.
I think even as a full-time judge, I believe you can still practice,
just not in your own courtroom or not in your own.
Obviously, yeah, as long as there's no conflict of interest whatsoever.
I don't know. It's an interesting whatever. But you have, and again, another one, like historically speaking, an incumbent mayor generally has very little opposition. Rajero had 2, but both of them were kind of like meh candidates, I guess. Victor Ashe had 1, but for all accounts, it was what they called a token candidate, just some guy that always runs for some office. Like a Constance or Reginald Jackson, apparently, or Elaine Davis until now, who ran for office all the time but never won.
Huh.
But I think this District 18 race last year was like her 5th attempt at office. The first time she's won anything.
Damn.
Ran for a city seat, ran for county seats, ran for all sorts of shit over time. But yeah. Barack E.R. I don't know how else you would say that. Barack Air. Constance. I'll have to get her back in here. She was so much fun. Everybody said to be careful with her. But we had a good time. I had a good time with her. Maybe because I don't really like cops that much either, and so we got along on that factor for sure. India, obviously. R.C. Lawhorn and Jeff Tallman. I think I was told that Lawhorn and are business people. They're successful business owners around town, and Tallman is a developer. Cameron Brooks, I'm pretty sure we went to high school with. I know that guy. Or I feel like I know that guy.
That sounds familiar.
I mean, I see him all over on my Facebook page because obviously I can spell.
You're friends with him, apparently.
Well, yeah, because that guy. He looks like a Gaither or something to me. Like he looks like he ran with that crowd. You know what I'm saying?
No, not really.
All right. I just feel like I know him. Anyway,
he has a kind of a generic face that I could kind of mistake him for a number of different people.
Maybe he's a realtor and he had his face on bus benches or something like that.
My first guess was he looks like shit. What's the senator from?
Tell me it doesn't look like Gaither.
He was a congressman from California. Kind of big, bad-eyed guy.
Yeah, you got me.
What's his name? I think he's now a senator from California. He was a part of the Trump impeachment thing. He was one of the main people in that on the House side of it.
No, there's the 287G was the immigration thing that the sheriff's office were involved in.
Okay.
Sorry, it just popped up. I don't recall. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't remember.
No, I'm trying to think of his name because I think he looks just like him.
He went to Bristol, Tennessee High School, so no, we didn't go to high school with him. All right. Anyway, Cameron Brooks, I thought I knew him. I guess I don't. I have interacted with him through Facebook a few times. Lynn Fugates is the incumbent. Darren Worsham for seat A at the at-large. Seat B is Debbie Helsley and Bentley Marlowe. That is currently Janet Testerman. She's not seeking re-election. Debbie ran for county mayor, if you remember. She's a union person.
Yeah.
Matt Best and Tim Hill are running against Amelia for seat C. Charles Thomas is running unopposed, so District 5, you're stuck with it. Deal with it. Which kind of makes, which is kind of perfect, actually, because with the the required changes to city elections, even though it's not happening this year anyway, even if it was happening this year, every single race that has an actual election involved in it in the city races this year is countywide anyway. So the whole city is going to vote anyway. So anyway, I'll start calling these people and I'll start talking to them. See if I can't get American Cannon in here. Yell at her about that jackass Peter and building. I'm serious. Like, it makes me mad. Especially if the neighbor gets their door to work. If they're like, I might actually seriously employ Jamie to sue the city if the neighbor gets their door approved as is. I'm gonna be very upset.
Bullshit.
It's like I said on the show. Like, I mean, like, some of my facts are wrong, and some of the things have changed as far as my understanding over time. But at the end of the day, it still feels to me like you've got to hire a contractor that has a good relationship with inspections. And as long as you do that, you're fine. But if you want to do it on your own, or if you want to hire some contractors that aren't as well known to the city officials, you're going to get picked apart. That's what it feels like. Maybe I'm wrong, because I don't know what else to say. Like, I just think it feels like to me that the way inspections work is it's really about who did the work in the first place. And if I know you and I'm cool with you, then I know you did the good work and I don't have to bother with anything. And I'm going to approve whatever you say you did. I'm not going to inspect anything. I'm just going to acknowledge that you normally do what you do. Whatever. I don't know. I find it bullshit. Knox County Schools says around 1,600 students scored below proficiency line in TCAP exam and could need to repeat the third grade.
Out of 1,600 out of maybe...
I mean, there's 60,000 total over 13 grades.
So 1,600. Just wanted roundabouts total.
60,000 out of, so 6,000 would be 10%.
Yeah. Sorry, just go back for a second. Adam Schiff was who I thought that guy kind of looked like.
All right, thank you for.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do, but I still not putting the picture of Adam Schiff in my head. But hold on a second, Rowdy, shut your face. What is your beef, bro? You just so you're a mic whore. Oh my god, the mic whore. Come here, chill out. So anyway, that's the city talks to. Takes I don't know that amendment. Okay, yeah, Cameron does look like a younger version of him. The amendment I shared from Eric Wader.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a legit amendment. I was trying to find the special session on the state website earlier today, and I couldn't find it.
No, I don't think that was a real amendment. I think that was a joke proposal.
I don't know if it's a joke. I think they would be serious. I think that they might seriously try it.
No, I don't think they would seriously try that.
If Eric told Elaine to do it, she would do it.
I would hope not.
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
I would hope she has a better.
My
head
understanding
on her
of it is Eric is the one that told Rhonda Lee to talk about cutting school funding so that we could pay sheriffs.
No.
So,
his idea was fucking asinine. It was stupid.
It's.
I hoped that was a joke. That was not seriousness whatsoever.
I don't.
I took it as a fucking joke. And he was like, "Ha ha! Yeah, if we did this, then nobody would vote for it." And that's wonderful. That is his initial, I guess, pushback or a way to then try to defeat that bill or try to cut into it. I mean, because if he is being serious, if that's your best way to do it, then good luck.
I mean, it's an interesting play. So, special session is called for August.
I mean, you think we already had some bad fucking national publicity go on? Wait till that fucking shit tries to hit.
I mean, dude, I don't think it's outside the Tennessee GOP's wheelhouse to play the play. All right, let's back up a second. Because we put no context on what we're talking about right now. We're just talking about this thing that Eric posted.
Do you want to? Okay, we'll go into the specifics.
I mean, we don't have to go into the specifics of it, but I mean, we put no reference up here. We're just talking about what Eric said. Nobody knows what Eric said.
And I'm still leaning to the fact that I think that was a fucking joke.
Okay, it may or may not have been a joke. Okay. I'll call him or email him and ask him if it was a joke or if that's actually serious. What's playing it? But Eric posted how to stop a red flag law bill in a Republican state with bipartisan votes. In the as used in the section part of the bill, Republicans amend the mental illness definition to add person who identifies as opposite of their biological sex as determined by their reproductive organs at birth. Even Democrats will vote no on a bill after that amendment. So it does imply in there that it's not truly an amendment yet, but that it is an amendment, that it would be a way to play it, to get it, to guarantee it not to pass. Or it'd be an interesting way to play it. I think it'd be interesting to play it anyway. Because I think there is some... No, I think it's not. I think it's a fucking terrible way to play it. But I think politically, there's an interesting way to play it. Morally, I think it's shitty. Maybe that's a better way to say what I was getting at. Like, morally, I think it's shitty. Who gives a fuck is, my general stance on gender
issues. Even politically,
anyway.
I don't think it's savvy whatsoever.
But we're talking about the Tennessee supermajority Republicans, whom are doing all sorts of stupid shit, like kicking people out of the House for technically a reasonable reason, but realistically, it just looks like you're assholes. Like, they're not. I don't think it's a reasonable group of people, is I guess my point. And the Republicans like to play their culture war game, so this would be a fun way for them to install a culture war issue into this thing.
I would like to say I don't think they can afford to make themselves look worse, but with a supermajority, yeah.
Well, the issue to me is I don't think they think it makes them look worse. Like, I don't think because I think how many times were we on SNL the last couple months? I think Republicans in the state
3 weeks in a row, and I would be hard pressed to find a state that was mocked 3 Saturday Night Lives in a row. I think we probably set a record.
I'd be curious. That'd be good. That'd be a good research project. Go ahead and do it. But I would bet you that the powers that be in the state of Tennessee heard people talking about that because they don't watch SNL because that's some liberal bullshit. And that's exactly how they took it when somebody's like, "You guys see them making fun of you guys on SNL?" Yeah, because they're those crazy fucking leftists. Of course they're making fun of us because we're doing what's right for our people. They're going to dismiss any of the they're dismissing it anyway. So why would it make a difference to them? Like they don't feel guilty about being made fun of on SNL. If anything, they feel like they're doing something right because they got made fun of on SNL.
Maybe some.
Huh?
Maybe some.
I mean, that's some of the fascination with Trump. That's why a lot of people like Trump, because he pisses off the left. Like, I've heard that phrase out of people's mouths, not the brightest people on the planet, but you walk down the street and you go, "Why did you vote for Trump?" Because he makes the left fucking angry.
Well, I mean, a lot of people kind of have that sentiment towards someone that's given someone they don't agree with the comeuppance.
Right.
Maybe not necessarily rightfully so at times, but sometimes it's just not like, "Oh, I don't really agree with them." I'll hear somebody else kind of saying their thing like, "Hell yeah, you told them off."
Okay, so let's back up a second.
All right.
What's the psych book that everybody references all the time?
DSM?
Yeah. Do you think the most recent edition of DSM still has a section on gender dysphoria?
Yes.
Okay. And so the DSM is, what's DSM stand for? Do you remember?
Diagnostic Statistical Manual.
Okay. And so it's for diagnosing mental illness. Right? It's psychology, right? It's
I don't know if I'd call it an illness. I mean, you're splicing words here, and when you get into the area of psychology, there's a lot of crazy jargon.
I mean,
I had that thought in reading. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Let me say this in a full devil's argument premise here is the manual that doctors use, psychologists use to diagnose mental issues. I don't know, whatever word we want to use there.
I would say that's a lot more agreeable.
Okay, so mental issues with their patients. Gender dysphoria is still in the official guide for psychologists to use for a person who thinks they're in a body that doesn't match who they are. That's still defined as gender dysphoria in the psychological field.
As far as I know, yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay, and so if the premise is of a red flag law is to take guns away from people who have mental illness, then the logic applies. Now, again, I think it's morally retarded, but the premise is there. And to go back to making fun of our legislature is, I see our legislature with some of the dumb shit they've done this past year, perfectly willing to go down that road.
See, but I would think at that kind of logic, you open the door to excluding, as someone that loves the Second Amendment, you're excluding.
Sure,
PTSD, I would argue like 90% of
anxiety.
Population. Exactly.
Right.
You're going down to anything that could be diagnosed within that. It's like a 2-inch thick book.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, in the culture war political game that's afoot, do you think a Democrat would vote yes to a bill that would automatically take away guns from trans people?
No. Exactly.
That's the point. The point is to make sure the bill dies.
I get the point. I don't know why you're trying to explain the point to me.
Well, because you're trying to say, well, then you're flirting with this idea of saying, well, we should take guns from right. people with anxiety or PTSD or all these other things.
Right, that's leaning towards the idea that this was serious. And again, I said, this is a fucking joke. This isn't him being serious.
We'll see. I'll ask. I'll follow up and ask.
Pick what fucking side you want on this.
What are you talking about?
Is this a joke or is this serious?
I mean,
in your initial perspective,
my initial perspective was this was serious, but in rereading his post,
what I thought. That's why I leaned into more like this is a fucking joke and this doesn't make sense.
Okay, but in rereading this,
and then if you're going to take this seriously, you've then got to consider everything else that goes along with it. And again, which leads more to my logic of this is not serious. Maybe I've just overthought his initial just...
No, I think I agree with you. In rereading this, is that I wouldn't say it's serious or not serious, but this was put up in a farcical manner. This was put up as in a way to say, this is how ridiculous we feel about taking guns away from people, that we would play a game like this. Right. So yes, I feel like this post was a little bit more humor than it was.
Yeah, I think I was trying to make the point. It's like, okay, well, if we do this, well, then they can just, if they do this, then that'll stop it, because nobody's going to vote for that.
But so where I'm confused on the pushback is like, if for the sake of conversation and the devil's argument thing I put together there a second ago, that let's assume this is real. Let's assume that our dumbass Republican legislature, who is capable of doing some significantly dumbass, poorly politically thought out things,
dumbassery,
actually goes forward with something like this,
right,
as a game to play to try to kill the bill,
okay,
and accidentally gets the bill passed. That would be craziness. That would be really fucking crazy if it did. But
I think it would be quickly overturned in any court.
How so?
What do you mean, how so?
I mean, how so? Like, because
I mean, as that is written, that is an overly broad bill. So it's overly ambiguous. Again, with the roads in which you could go down to, that just defining like anything in the DSM, any kind of mental illness that's defined otherwise or whatever.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the general framework of what the one that...
Because like you said, you could find all sorts of shit in there.
Well, I'd like to see what
just someone with OCD that feels the need to wash their hands is in that manual.
Yeah. But again, I think that's kind of the point of the joke. If we're agreeing that it's a joke, or that's kind of the point, is that this is how ridiculous it is, because it plays both ways. I think that's the genius of the joke, maybe, is what I'm trying to get at. The genius of the joke is that it plays both ways. Is that we're going to throw this one that we know is ridiculous to you guys in, because then you have to address the fact that...
Because, it's such a fucking joke, then when someone presents a danger to others, that we shouldn't think about that, because maybe we're just over-analyzing their anger issues.
Look, I'm having a little struggle. I'm personally struggling with a little bit of the whole involuntary mental interventions.
Right.
Personally right now. Like, I don't know. Like, I have a situation that I don't know how exactly I want to deal with it. There are options available to me because I'm having an issue with a person, and I don't know what to do with it. But it is concerning to me. Over the last couple months, there's been a few different incidences that have occurred, and I don't know how to deal with that to the safety of my household,
right,
in my neighborhood. And there are options available to intervene vicariously through organization stuff that I'm trying to figure out how to do. And I'm having a philosophical struggle with it, because philosophically, didn't do anything wrong. I don't think you need to be put in jail or in some sort of detention center of some sort, whether it's a true detention center or a medical facility. But at the same time, I know this person semi-personally, and I know there's something wrong, and I would like them to get better. I don't want them to go away because I want them gone. I want them to go away to get help.
I think that's an admirable outlook upon it.
But it's still complicated to me, because I philosophically lean to, you didn't do anything wrong. As long as you don't do anything wrong, like actually do any harm to anybody, then it's not my business to intervene in your business.
Right. But say that person did go off on a tangent or whatever, and shit hit the fan. Would you, in retrospect, do you think you would wish you may have said something when something may have stopped it and prevented it?
What did you say?
Because I think that's what a lot of people kind of lean to, and especially.
What did you say a little bit ago? We were joking about the math thing in high school.
I don't know.
I was like, man, that thing didn't get, like I was joking about, that thing didn't go into effect yet, and if it had gone into effect, I wouldn't have met you in geometry.
Oh, yeah.
What did you say?
It's in the past.
That thing's in the past, man. I can't dwell on what I could have done back then or what could have been different back then.
Yeah, sure.
Because of what happens now.
Because that's apples to apples,
I mean, I don't know.
We
could have met anyway.
In the story that maybe we would not have met, which in my story you misinterpreted that it didn't matter either way whether I went to summer school at that time or not, I still would have been in geometry that year. So
Fine.
we still would have met. So there was nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be worried about.
Well, because you're right.
Still
Because
be here.
the past is the past. I can't change that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if something were to happen, and I
Right. So yeah, that shit happens in your neighborhood, and both your kids and your wife are killed. You're just gonna turn around and say, "Well, past is past," right?
I mean, that's your take. That was your take on it. I was the one
On
that
a
was
different fucking perspective, on a totally non dangerous point whatsoever. You were looking on the despair of maybe we didn't meet over 20 years ago.
But I mean, I don't know that there's real danger now. And so what? Okay, so then the inverse.
Okay, well then
the
what
inverse.
What are you concerned about?
Then the inverse is
you're obviously having an internal dilemma
Sure.
upon this, which means there is some sort of level of
Right.
a safety issue.
Okay, the inverse is that I do intervene and I do get the city or county or state or somebody involved in it, and they take him somewhere, a mental health treatment facility, and it doesn't go well, and he loses all access and custody to his kid, and doesn't really get mentally better and ends up getting worse and tries to kill himself or tries to kill somebody in the facility or figures out that I'm the one that turned him in and tries to kill me directly.
Okay.
I mean, I could play that both ways. Is my point. I don't know what's happening. I know that it's something I'm concerned and I'm paying attention to.
Which is more likely? You don't do nothing, and he goes down that rabbit hole of terribleness, or you try to get him help, and he goes down a rabbit hole of terribleness. Which is more likely to happen? Whether he actually has help of talking to someone to work through these possible issues and goes off on the deep end, or he gets no help whatsoever and goes off on the deep end. Which is more likely to happen?
I mean, I would think the prior. I would think or I guess the other way. I think it would be less likely that if he were to get some help, it is less likely that something bad could happen.
Okay. I mean, that's what I lean towards.
Okay, but it's not. It's not.
Is it a given? No,
it's not a zero.
Very little things are fucking 100%.
But my point is,
fucking play the odds. I mean, you're a betting man. Who's you fucking going to bet on? What you can put your money on? What are you going to put your kids' lives on?
My point in comparison, though, is that if the less likely odds were to happen when I do intervene, and the bad outcome comes up, I'm going to look back and go, God damn it, I shouldn't have done that. Where the more likely problematic outcome being do nothing, which is what I'm struggling with. These are the two issues I'm struggling with, and the bad thing comes out, and a bad thing comes out to happen. I'm like, God damn it, why did I do that? If the thing happens, the likelihood of one or the other being not equal, but if either one happens, I'm going to beat myself up for the action or inaction that I did.
I would like to think you would beat yourself up less knowing that you tried to do something in the progression of trying to make it better.
But again, the philosophical problem I have is in what I perceive, at what I perceive would be the better option for this other person. But it's my perception that's the problem for me, philosophically. Yeah. I perceive this as an issue, and I don't know. It could not be an issue. I don't know. I don't know the whole thing. There's a song about it. Anyway, I'm not going to try to sing you. Halls High School wins the Best Senior Prank of the Year award.
Well, what?
Did you see this?
Do you remember what our senior prank was?
No.
Yeah, I don't think we had one. I don't think there was one. You know what happened the year prior?
I don't remember, no.
I think that was the only thing I ever saw. That they fucking flipped over the dumpsters. Like, that was their prank. Like the 2 years prior, I think it was like an actual. I think someone went down to like one of the tire places and got one of those giant inflatable tires and inflated it out in front of the school. And then it might have been my freshman year. Were you ever there when they filled the pit with like the plastic balls, like of ball pit balls?
No,
that might have been my freshman year before you came.
But
then it's all of a sudden like it rolled around to us. Haha,
it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a proper prank. No damage done. Nothing. No big deal. It's stupid. Yeah, it's silly.
Definitely stupid.
I'm sure somebody got pissed off about it because they're all offended by the word. So Halls High School got a giant B and put it over the H.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys figure that out on your own. I think it's hilarious. way to go,
I
Halls.
mean, I'll give them a little something. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, is that the best you can do?
I mean, the real question is, if this is the first time it's been done, amazing. Or sad news for the seniors of years past.
I would say that's probably not the first time Halls has been like joked with and called that.
I'm saying the actual action of doing this.
Right.
I'm sure that plenty of people have called it Balls High School over the years. If you didn't figure it out yet, Balls is the joke. But I'd be curious if it's ever happened in this format before.
Yeah.
If it has, then it's less fun. This is the first time it's been done, because you got to get up on the roof and you got to do it like it's a serious logistical issue to try to set that up and get it.
That's a big tarp.
Yeah, you got to get it set up right, and I mean it's pretty square. It's not perfect. The spacing's good.
Yeah, tall fucking ladder.
Right. The spacing's good. It's not quite the same font, but it's pretty close.
Actually, if you get to the roof, you could probably hang that down semi-easily.
I don't know, man. If you're like we've got the sign hanging on the side of the store. We just can't get it to stay flat. You know, it's not easy. I'm giving them kudos for it.
No land. I'm not giving them kudos on that. Sorry.
All right.
I expect better of you.
I mean, in my perfect world, I would expect better from our high schoolers too. But in the reality that we talk about all the time, I don't expect that much out of our high schoolers.
You young kids, you got time to tick-tockers and
on the TikTok, and
all you can do is hang a big tarp that you just painted a big B on it. That's what you did.
Yep, that's what we did. It's better than our senior prank of nothing.
As far as I remember, I don't think we did anything.
I don't remember.
Unless we did something I just never heard about.
I never gave a shit. Because
I want to say it was the year prior. I guess it would have been our junior year when they flipped over the dumpsters. I'm pretty sure that's the only thing I remember like being amiss on like the quote unquote like last week of like senior prank day or whatever. I'm pretty sure that there was like talk of like not letting people graduate or walk across the stage like until that trash was cleaned up. I just thought it was fucking like piss poor. I'm just like that was your prank? Like just spill trash everywhere in the school grounds? Like that's not really a prank. That's just being a douche.
But it's still not nothing, and that's what we did. We also have a shitty class president, so
yeah, we did poor organization.
I mean, we did get pandemic out of a 20-year reunion, but I also don't remember seeing anything about preparatory conversation. If
they were going to do it at fucking where'd they do it last time? Someplace down there, World's Fair Park, Foundry. That's where they did it at. And it was like $50 a head, and I said, "Fuck that." It was our 10-year reunion. I said, "No, I'm not paying $50 to go see you, jackasses." I mean, I would love to see you, but I'm not paying $50 to see you.
What was I doing in 2010 that I don't remember if I got? I don't remember. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm off the radar and they don't know where to find me because I don't remember getting invites for it.
I'm assuming I saw it on like Facebook or something because I don't think I got like a letter in the mail or anything like that. I remember like thinking at the time I was like, wait, what the fuck? I remember my older sister. I think they had it like down here at the bar down the street. Then they may have had some formal get together, but apparently there was more of an informal that I guess they did at the bar down the street.
I would go. I would have gone to the 20.
Let's see if that's
I would have paid $50.
Yeah. I might have showed up just to see if I can get away with not paying. Oh, yeah, I paid. Look me on the list, yeah. Smith, yeah.
Pick somebody.
Surround the Smith.
I told you like...
oh, no, I'm the other Smith, yeah.
Remember Aaron Gutha?
Yeah.
Her brother is one of my scouts' dads. So that was a weird little so I'm really good friends with her nephew now.
Interesting.
And I mean he does he's only a couple he would have had to been like a freshman or sophomore when we were seniors. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but I'm assuming it's her little brother.
I can almost picture her. I probably wouldn't recognize her if I saw her.
I'd have to see her too. Yeah, I don't know.
I might be like, I think I went to high school with you.
But I would have gone. I try to remember if I got an invitation or had any knowledge of that 10-year or not. I feel like I didn't. I might have been like you and been like, fuck that, $50. I'm po.
I'm sure in this day and age there wasn't really much of an effort to really put that shit out, and he probably just put it on Facebook.
I mean, I'm in the Alumni Band Association Facebook group.
All right.
They don't do a ton, but every once in a while they'll show some pictures of current and old. Like people will find like an old picture from a newspaper of like the 1974 Beard and Band, and they'll be like, "Hey, I found this in the paper, so I'd share it with the group." And it's decently interactive. A couple people are like, "Oh, cool! I remember that year."
I brought up Jason Maxey, and I kind of forgot about him for a while. He was a former student, special needs student. He would occasionally like come in and kind of like pep us up.
Yeah. I do remember that.
You guys gonna do great.
You're right.
I'm like, all right, thanks, Jason. Yeah,
Kick ass,
thanks a
buddy.
lot, man.
I like that kind of shit. I do like that kind of shit. It's good stuff. So the other,
he had school spirit.
one of the other items on my list of things to chat about is the eventual takeover of the UT, of the University of Tennessee. Just going to eventually take over the city of Knoxville.
Yeah,
it's my theory on it. So if you guys haven't heard about it, UT is exploring basically turning, I think it's the G10 garage between Nayland and Thompson. The hotel, I think, is a go. It's like a 12 or 13 story hotel. Couple floors, you're going to be able to look down on the field from the windows.
I mean, they need housing,
but it's a hotel. I made that point. Like I actually had a significant segment on the Compass Cap podcast today because they do their question series. They do a question segment where people from the Facebook group ask questions. CompassKnox.com, subscribe, and then you can be part of the Facebook dork group that I'm in. And just people that are in the group can ask questions about different whatever topics that may or may not be something that we regularly would cover on the show. And I submitted a question saying, like, I want to understand more about this UT entertainment complex they're talking about putting down between the stadiums. Like, how's alcohol work down there? And apparently, the rules in the University of Tennessee is you can have alcohol on campus.
So what are the rules on us being a dry campus? If all of a sudden the rules are,
right?
Oh, you can have alcohol on campus.
So I made the joke about
is it a UT rule?
When I was a freshman at UT, it was a dry campus, and it was explained to us as part of orientation that there's no alcohol allowed on campus, and you count as a vessel. So if you are full of alcohol, you are bringing alcohol on campus. So you can go get drunk off campus, but you're not allowed to come back on by rule. So you stumble back to your dorm from a house party off campus, you are technically violating the no alcohol rules.
Right.
But apparently there's no alcohol on the dorms. But like if we wanted to do almost an agreement gala, for lack of a better word, at in the UC. Like if we wanted to use one of the conference rooms in the university center down there right across from the stadium or whatever.
Right.
If we wanted to put on an event where it was a gala for like our Patreon members, because we don't have a Patreon, but whatever. But it's like, hey, thanks for being supporters of the show. We're putting on this event. Come, we're going to have some booze. We're going to have some food. We're going to hang out. We're going to talk. We'll do a live podcast, question and answer section with you guys. Have a great time. Come on. We can do that. So any building on campus with proper permissions from the chancellor's office, maybe not Donda herself, but the chancellor's office.
Yeah.
You could do whatever you want. So, like, apparently, like, 4th floor in Ayers Hall is a venue that the campus rents out from time to time for different events. Apparently, alcohol and tailgating is technically legal by campus rules. But you can, like, we couldn't go down to G10 right now and just drink a beer. But on a game day, you can. So, with somewhere in the rule book,
all right,
it specifies tailgating as a specialty part of the rules.
It's Saturday. Don't worry about it.
But
it's Saturday during football season. Outside of that, any Saturday is not.
Right. Saturday during football season where the team is playing in Knoxville.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to specify that.
You can't come.
Can't do that for an away game.
You can't come down and set up for an away game.
But there's a game today. Sir, the game's in Nebraska. And it's not even on TV.
And so.
What are you watching? Oh, no.
But the university cannot sell alcohol.
Gotcha. As an institution.
Right. So they always have to bring in a third party. That's where Airmark comes in the stadiums. And so essentially what they're proposing is that they basically build a giant deck on top of the G10 garage, or I don't know if it's a deck or it's going to be a building or what exactly, but it will be a entertainment area that is a layer on top of that garage. The garage will stay where it is, and they're just going to put it on top. But they want to have, restaurant, bar, nightclub kind of stuff down there. And they're specifically targeting non-students is what they want out of the space. Which is where I get into my conspiracy theory of UT's trying to take over the city.
It gets to be like a year-round thing, or is this just
all the time? I mean, it'll be buildings. It's not just going to be like a deck. It's not like you can pull up it's not going to be like a food truck park where they pull up food trucks and for game days they have a food truck party up there. It's going to be restaurants and bars and maybe a smaller, 150 general admission venue, like a, I don't know, not Bijou big, but bigger than Pilot Light, smaller than Bijou. Like a Barley's size venue, that kind of thing. And so the conspiracy issue that I have with it is that they're specifically like it will be inside the athletic department, and so the athletic department that will be the one that makes the money off the proceeds of said sales.
Why?
Because that's who's going to manage this thing.
Parking?
That's the plan. Like this hotel is going to be the hotel will be part of. And so, first it's a ground lease game, which is another interesting thing. And so it's a ground lease game in that it'll be private developers developing the complex who will then lease out the space to private business. And those private businesses have to go through the same process. They have to get their beer permit through the city, get their liquor permit through the state, all that kind of stuff. But when you go into a public-private partnership with UT, it's always a profit-sharing model. It's never a fixed rent model. So if we were to go put a E-Vape Tavern down there, like the one we were opening on Central, it would be rent is 50% of your profit.
All right.
Not 50% of your, not $5,000 a month, not, just 50% of some number, which means that the university is going to get to be in the process of sales. They're not going to be selling, but they're going to have access to sales.
Right.
Because they're not going to just trust you to say, oh, well, we sold $10,000 this month. Here's your $5,000. They're going to say, you need to show us the receipts so we get to see what you're selling, how you're selling it, who you're selling it to.
Yeah.
That's, as a business, I hate the premise of that, but whatever. People that go down there and open their businesses, they're going to have to deal with that.
Hey, you got ways to game the system, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I would be doing everything I could to game it. I hate that model. There's places that use that model. The malls use that model. I hate that idea. Because
you'd be like, oh, everything was to go. So people weren't drinking here on campus, so that has nothing to do with you. The people were taking
all sales. It doesn't matter. All sales for the thing. All sales for these places will be part of the system.
I've tried. I don't know. Just trying to give you an out.
Well, I'm just saying, like there's part of it that makes sense. In the early period, a profit sharing model makes sense to me.
Get it in the premise of that business that rents it out doesn't want to feel screwed over, and then they're allowing you to be in the space, and you're making money hand over fist, and they're like, well, shit, we could have gotten a little bit more of that. Like, hey, why don't we do a profit sharing? If you're going to make a bunch of money, we want to make a bunch of money too.
Okay.
Not just like, hey, we're going to rent out of what that space is worth, and you make your money. They're like, oh, we're about to lease a thing that's going to make a shit ton of money. We need to change our terms.
Sure. And that's,
I guess, yeah, that's just
I could see as the landlord in that conversation, I could see that as a positive premise. And as a business going into that, when you're not confident in how well this is going to go, I could see it as a positive premise too, because if I'm only sharing half my profits and my profits are small,
I could see maybe doing that if there was a high demand for space in which to do it. But when there's a market, which I guess we're kind of approaching, where there's a lot of commercial property out there that's not being rented out, of how you can then kind of lay that out as a requisite for signing a lease.
Right.
Most people are going to be like, "Nah, fuck you."
Yeah, I will never. Get in I can't imagine a situation where I would be comfortable getting in that situation.
Right. That's the thing. You can only really pull that off, which
because that's
they're in a high demand, I guess, semi area. Which that part of campus is kind of hit or miss.
I mean, if it's not game day, there's not a concert going on. There's nothing down there.
Right.
But at the same time, you're right fucking there, and on a game day, you should be able to make enough to last. One season of football games, you should be able to make enough to last a year. Also, you could charge on campus. You could charge a lot more down there in your sales because of where you are than you could in places further away.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it on the university side a little bit. But again, to me, the conspiracy theory concern that I have with this whole thing is that long term, what is this like? If you're the university, why do you stop? You have the means to expand your footprint more or less as much as you want. Keep eating up property. Keep going into these public-private partnerships. Why would you stop? Because they're already going across the river. They're already downtown. Why wouldn't the university buy half a Market Square?
I get your premise in that thought, but my first thought goes to smaller towns to where literally are like that. That's the only thing that small town is.
Sure.
We're in that kind of weird place of where a medium-sized town with a major or the flagship campus of a major college.
There's two spectrums to play with here. I think is that you have like Georgia Tech in Atlanta, or you have UW Madison, Wisconsin, in Madison. And the city of Madison exists for two things. It's the seat of their state government, and it's the home of their university. Everything in that total, Scott put up a very example, Oxford, Mississippi for Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in Oxford that isn't the University of Ole Miss.
Right. But have they taken over the town? That was where I was kind of going with that logic.
Jesse made the point.
A town like that to where they can only, they have more of the leeway to say like, hey, we're all you've got. We're the only thing that's bringing people
But my
here.
point is it doesn't matter. For UT, it doesn't matter. Because they can take. As could Ole Miss, I think, because it's a state school. Georgia Tech can't because they're not a state school.
Why can UT take and those others can't?
Well, the University of Tennessee is a state organization, and they have eminent domain rights.
How is Ole Miss not a state?
I don't know if they are or not. I don't know if Ole Miss is a university. I don't know if it's the University of Mississippi. Because which one's University of Mississippi, Mississippi State? I don't remember. I don't know. Georgia Tech is not, is what I said, not Ole Miss. Georgia Tech is not a state school, I don't think. Like, it's not the University of Georgia, Atlanta campus. It's Georgia Tech.
Assuming they're still considered a state school,
just
like Tennessee Tech is considered a state.
I don't know.
School.
I don't know the answer to that.
I would say outside of a private college, you are still considered a state college.
I don't know that Georgia Tech has the authority to take a neighboring block if they wanted to. University of Tennessee does. If they want to take. Now, they did try to take some of Fort Sanders, and there was a big local pushback, and they gave up on it. Not that they had to give up on it, but they did for, politicking purposes. But at the end of the day, and especially pushing to the south side, the University of Tennessee can keep expanding as they wish. And so, to me, I don't see why they would stop long term over time.
There's obviously a power struggle somewhere, or else they would just keep going unabated. I'm assuming that there's something that has stopped them from doing it. There's at least either
there's a limited amount of expansion per year. There's a limited amount of budget where they can buy property, and obviously downtown Knoxville property is not cheap. And they can't just on a whim. I don't know that they have the finances to just buy half a Market Square, like I was joking about earlier. If they wanted to, they could do it if they wanted to force the issue.
That's what they want this district for, so they can then buy Market Square.
Well, what they want this district for is to take away revenues from Market Square. Sure. They don't want to buy Market Square, but eventually, why not? So so let's say this thing works out, and it does well.
I don't know if that would take
and it's a year-round, game days or not, it's a cool happening place, and people from Knox County go down there for their weekend stuff.
It's the footprint of basically the top of a parking deck? Is the footprint? Or is this an expanded district?
It's from. I mean, it's the space basically, but from the edge of Thompson all the way across the garage next to it, and then the hotel is going on an actual piece of land that's next to the garage between the stadium and the river.
I swear that was where they just built a building, not more
than
like
build
5
a
or
building
10 years
yeah,
ago.
They did.
They moved like an engineering building or architecture building down there.
Art and architecture is on its same footprint. It used
still
to be.
where it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be an engineering building in the sense that it's actually campus engineering, not engineering school, where they do mechanical, where like the offices for the people that make sure all the buildings stay upright.
No, I think it was an actual department. I don't remember which exact department it was. I want to say there was some kind of newer building that was built there right next to that big parking garage.
Again, to me, technically, legally, I don't know how a church would fit in the game. But there's a bunch of random weird like housing apartments in that gap between the railroad tracks and Henley Street.
Church Street United Methodist.
Yeah, the one that's right there on Henley Street and whatever. I don't know if they could take the church per se.
Hell no.
I don't know I don't know how that sits in the thing.
I mean, I think that's probably a historical marker at this point. I think that's been there a long time.
But I mean, like, the way I understand it, if the university wants to, over time, if they can afford to buy the property at value, they could keep expanding, and eventually they could buy the city-county building. And they could force the seat of Knox County government and city government out of that building if they wanted to.
How can you force the sale of the building?
Eminent domain.
That we need this more than you?
Pretty much.
I don't think they could ever pull that off. That the university needs that building more than what, as it sits now, is the household for our city and county government.
The state of
I don't think even the state would blink an eye whatsoever in denying that.
The state of Tennessee has the authority to do that. The University of Tennessee is a state organization. It wouldn't be an easy process. It wouldn't go over well. There's politics involved.
It's not just because we asked you, they get it.
I mean, they'd have to make the argument, but to who? To the state of Tennessee. They wouldn't have. They don't have.
What kind of valid argument of need do you think would go beyond? This is where literally.
I'm just saying they could. I wasn't saying they're planning on it or whatever. I'm just saying that's the point of my.
Just trying to run down your thing logically. What logical right do you think Tennessee could argue to the city or to the state to take over what we call our city county
Who are they arguing
building?
To?
The state.
Okay. So the state...
I'm assuming they've got to go beyond the city because the city is automatically going to say, fuck off.
Right. And the state says... The state gets to decide between a local municipality, which we already know, at least currently, the state is not a big fan of local municipalities, especially if they're left-leaning, and a state organization. And they have the right to choose.
Would we go to the legislature?
I don't know exactly how the perfection of the process goes. I mean, at the end of the day, the state of like, I'm far enough away currently where they couldn't do it to me. But if, in that little bit of housing, those handful of houses and apartments that are behind that church that we're talking about right now,
right?
Those are within the circle of UT's possible growth sphere or whatever the fuck they call it. If UT says we need this house, and the owner says, no, it's my house. I have tenants in this house. I make a bunch of money off this house. Well, we need this house and the house next to you because we're going to turn this into a new dorm for students. We need this house.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what the process is, but at the end of the day, in the hierarchy of authorities, they are a state institution and they get it over any city or county resident. Same way that if KUB wants to take 2 feet of my front yard from me,
okay, I can understand
they have the right to do that.
I can understand a little bit more the college saying, hey, there's some housing here. We want to expand into this space. I'm still going back to what realistic argument
they continue. They continue in the growth pattern that they're on, which they're one of a very short list of universities that has significant growth year in and year out over the last 5 years, They say, we are continuing to grow as a university. We need more room. We need to. We want to buy this neighborhood that's between here and there. We're not even going to change it. We're going to buy this neighborhood and let our faculty live here because we need more room for our. We can't hire enough faculty. We can hire enough faculty, but we can't find places for our faculty to live. So we're going to buy houses for them.
Okay.
They can do that. And they keep expanding that, and they keep expanding that. And it's not going to be like, 2 weeks from now, but over a decade of them continuing to grow and expand outward, eventually they're going to run into the convention center. Eventually, they're already run up right next to the convention center as is, or World Fair Park, or whatever I'm going to call it.
Beyond it, yeah.
They're actually on both sides of it currently. They have their own convention center right across the street from World's Fair. They're working on it right now. They've been down there blowing shit up and doing stuff. True. Anyway, but they keep expanding this way and expanding that way, and it just gets to the point where they're like, okay, well, we're right up here on the edge of old downtown, or of like downtown. Okay. Like the only building, the only property that that is safe from them is the federal building, because it's the only one that's on the hierarchy of things above them.
The Duncan building?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm keep going back to it. I don't know why you're avoiding it. Give me a realistic situation to where the university could argue that they need the city-county building and then need to displace everything that goes on in that building.
I don't know. I don't know what
you're the one that brought it up, and you made it sound feasible, and I'm like,
I think it is. It's not unfeasible. It's what the argument would be when it comes to it. If they've expanded that far, they're saying, okay, well, we need to build a new fucking football stadium here because we want a new football stadium, and this is a really great prime spot, and it's going to. At this point, they're in the landlording business. If this current thing that we're talking about goes through, they're in the landlording business anyway. So we need to take this space. We're going to build a new Thompson Bowling Arena here, and make this our new basketball, volleyball, indoor sports venue. Because it makes us millions of dollars a year between the sporting events that we host there and the events that we bring in from outside, whether it's a Taylor Swift show or whatever the fuck it is. Right. We're going to build a Bridgestone style arena in place of it, and it's going to make us a ton of money. And our need to make money supersedes your need to make money, and especially since this doesn't make you any money anyway. This is a tax-free building. It doesn't pay property tax. Our building won't pay property tax either, but whatever. We need this more than you. It's never going to be a good argument. What's the good argument for why the University of Tennessee needs to build a hotel and an entertainment complex between these two buildings? Because they want to make money. Like, they've said that. Like, they've said it out loud already. This is a revenue-generating exploratory process that we're looking into right now.
Right.
We're doing this to make money. So if the University of Tennessee is comfortable publicly saying, we are exploring options of ways to make us money, this is one of the ways we've decided to go look into that. Let's run it down. What's to stop them from expanding that revenue-generating model, that profit-rearing model, into other things in other places? Nothing. They can. Will they? I don't know, but they can. And is that something that we maybe want to get ahead of and be like, hey, maybe we should put some legislation in place that says, University of Tennessee, you're not allowed to expand your footprint anymore. If you need more space, build up. You don't have to. They don't have to follow planning and zoning and anything anyway.
They don't.
Nope.
Not whatsoever.
None.
They get to make up their own rules.
Yep.
Says the state of Tennessee.
That's one of the arguments about people that are pissed off about this bridge conversation. Because as soon as they build this bridge across the river, they are going to buy property down there and build dorms or apartments or whatever. They're going to be 10, 12 stories tall, even though the city code says 6 stories is as high as a building is allowed to be, or whatever exactly it is. I don't remember.
Right.
But like the uniform code says X, Y, or Z, and they're just going to build whatever the fuck they want to build down there because the university can. I mean, there's nothing like look around. Like, we just think about it when you look at campus. Like, there's no, until the rezoning of the Strip, at least in that section of the city of Knoxville, there is no buildings over like 6 stories, except for the res halls. Like the hospital's not 6 stories tall.
I don't know if that was necessarily code. That may have just been they did not need a hospital that was 20 stories tall. For the footprint that it was.
You're right. You might be right on that, but it doesn't matter. The moral of the story is the actual functional reality is the university.
Curious as to, I don't foresee how the University of Tennessee has been able to forego building code.
They have zero.
I mean, I can see things
obligation
like grandfathered
to
in of like we've got buildings that were built in.
No, they do not have to follow any city or county planning, zoning, nothing.
They've still got to pass building code.
I maybe city inspectors come out, like for actual like on the ground inspections of electrical work. Not that they actually do that when they go to inspections anyway, as we've discovered in our conversations about other things. But maybe they come check the contractor's specific work on a building out. But as far as the designs of the building, the heights of the building, how far they're away from curbs, all those little fucking rules in play, the UT has zero obligation to follow any of that shit. That's a fact. That's not me guessing at it. That's a fact.
From
I will reference that is from Scott from Compass.
Gotcha.
Because they don't have to follow code or zoning by any stretch of imagination. If they want to put a 7-story mixed-use building,
it's like a state thing, or is that a city thing that we have?
I mean, they like essentially. It's yes, for all intents and purposes, it's the state of Tennessee. That's what University of Knoxville. That's what University of Tennessee is. It's a state institution. Right. They don't have to follow any rules from any local municipalities.
Is that what UT stands for? University of Tennessee?
Yes, that they are a property of the state of Tennessee. Yes.
No.
This is the facts, people.
Shit.
And the state of Tennessee is not obligated to do anything that the city or county wants. Any city code, any county code, any city zones, doesn't matter. The state is not obligated to answer to those. Ever.
So they just voluntarily abide by code for the...
They don't abide by code.
For some extent?
No, I'd say like federal fire safety code, probably. They're probably obligated to those.
Oh, that's it?
Like federal electrical code or something like that. Like very specific, like, OSHA or, what's the handicap one called? ADA?
So we got to make sure that all the workers at Tennessee are safe, but the students in Tennessee...
No, ADA code, like building code as far as like how much like what materials you have to use for a building a certain height by federal law, yes, they have to follow that. But the city of Knoxville is like, well, we want this section of town to be only 5-story buildings, or you have to be a certain amount of feet off the curb, or you need to pull a permit to do this work. No, they don't have to do any of that. Now, federal safety guidelines, yes, they have to follow those, whether it's for employees or for the actual building itself. They can't just be like, oh, we're going to build this out of pine straw and do it, because that's not going to hold the weights requirements and shit like that.
Why are they worrying about weight requirements?
Because they don't want to kill students. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm talking about zoning and city code. City and zoning code is a whole different animal than like the building's going to stay fucking upright.
Okay.
Like how big the building's allowed to be.
You want to do inspections and shit, and that's what inspectors are there for.
Right.
Part of that.
They might need to have city inspectors come out. But that's like literally for like, did we screw in this light socket correctly? It's not for how tall we built this building, how close this building is to a curb.
That's more in like engineering plans as far as getting those approved.
Right, but they don't have their engineering and plans don't have to go through the city of Knoxville. Is the point I'm getting to? They can build whatever the fuck they want to build.
So they can't build it out of paper mache, or someone has to say they can't build it out of paper mache.
I mean, the state or federal government can say no. You can't build it out of that. I guess, but the city of Knoxville can't say no to it.
Gotcha. I'm just trying to work my head around it. Sorry. I know,
I mean, maybe
I know you're not the man with all the answers.
Maybe I'm mixing up coding and inspections and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like you're like a building, like if I were to buy a piece of property in downtown Knoxville and I wanted to build a thing on that, I have to follow the rules of what I could do in the building, what kind of business or like what kind of building I could build in the sense of whether it's this new mixed use thing where I have ground level retail, 2 floors of commercial and 5 floors of residential on top. How many total floors I can build? The city of Knoxville gets to make up those rules for me. How tall the building is, if I can use it for mixed use, if I can put commercial on the ground floor or not, if I can put industrial in that building or not, whether I'm allowed to mix residential and industrial. The city of Knoxville has to let me do that. The city of Knoxville has no play in the University of Tennessee with what they want to do with that.
Once they buy it,
if it's property of the university, the city of Knoxville can't do shit about what they want to build. Now, again, I'm not exactly sure on the specifics of like inspection parts and pieces and whether the city of Knoxville inspections gets to come out and look at, well, do you have a fire extinguisher within 70 feet of the door?
All right.
How many fire extinguishers do you have? A building this size has to have a sprinkler system. Did you put a sprinkler system in? I don't know if that part's included or not. But that's literally just the city doing a base inspection on a generally normal thing. The point being is the city of Knoxville gets to say, well, we want tall buildings in this neighborhood. We want short buildings in this neighborhood. We want commercial over here. We want residential over there. The city of Knoxville gets to say that. But as soon as it's UT property, the city of Knoxville gets no say on that conversation. Like even to the point of like what the front of your, like the facade conversation, what the front of your building looks like. You're like Ayers Hall is a historic building. Like for all intents and purposes, it's a historic building. Knoxville Historic Preservation has no say on it.
Not that I would encourage the city to swing their schlong about it, but what is the incentive to not say no?
For the city?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the university, the university, I mean, good luck getting up and just moving.
I mean, the incentive for the city
does this go back to like some charter 100 years ago, or I don't see how how UT is able to hold sway over city government and be like, we do what we want. I'm just trying to understand, I guess
the politics side is you have the number 2 employer in the county,
right?
Probably the number 1 employer in the city,
right? Not like I said, not to. I want to say like encouraging your possible sway over the county, but at the same time, it's like
it goes back to
how beholden do you want to be to this?
It goes back to like the conversation I've had a couple times where like I don't like how much the city bends to the university in things that are like legitimately politically and like functionally normal.
Right.
Like I truly believe that the university said you are not allowed to build a new Civic, whether you want to or not. Like if you want to talk about spending $100 million on a thing, the baseball stadium, I'd rather build a new Civic. I think that has more long-term value.
Did not use that as like a concert hall? I mean, I know they do like the James or the what's it called? It's a theater in UT. The
Clarence Brown.
Yeah. But I mean, like for UT's like symphonic, they may pretty much just do it at the Tennessee Theater.
No,
I'm wondering like why UT have their own concert hall?
Yeah, alumni, right next to the stadium. Beautiful.
Oh, I don't know. Never been there.
Beautiful. Like it's.
Never mind. Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee Theater's. It's close. Like the largest organ in the state of Tennessee.
I've been to Clarence Brown. It's kind of small.
No, Clarence Brown's
been in there once. Yeah.
No, the alumni auditorium is phenomenal. It has one of the I think it's like arguably.
As I said, I think I'd heard that name before.
It's one of the best organs in the Southeast, maybe even in the country, is an Alumni Hall.
Yeah, after I said it, I was like, wait, I think I've heard them talk about the Tennessee.
Yeah, the Alumni Auditorium is phenomenal. So yeah, any major I mean, the old music building had a solid concert venue, like in the building.
So I mean, I've never been to a performance. I was trying to.
Yeah, I mean,
at the same time, I was like, I don't know where. I'm assuming
a couple hundred seat theater. It's nothing.
I'm assuming they have some
nice.
sort of symphonic band at UT.
Yeah, they've got a couple of them.
Yeah, I figured word one. Yeah,
but
didn't know where they're
in the like. I don't know.
They had their own area.
I haven't been down to the new music building yet.
Because that was my first thought. It was if they redid that would then be their music hall.
Right. No. Alumni down there next to the stadium is the one. I mean, it's probably like 700 seats, maybe 1,000. I took my Spanish final there. Like it's a classroom too for certain classes, nice. But it's a very nice venue. But yeah, again, I would argue that there are things that the city might want to have done that the university says no to, and that
what
the city
would
doesn't
the
have a choice.
university have lost in building a new Civic?
Thompson,
as
the number one venue, large indoor venue in Knoxville.
I don't think it would have competed. That's one thing I started again watching into like Your Mom's House podcast or whatever, and kind of seeing like comedians kind of talking about in that medium to big level of them either wanting to play in certain cities or wanting to play certain venues because that city either has a venue that's either too small or too big for them.
Right.
So and thinking of that, I don't see how revamping that venue would then compete with Thompson Bowling Arena. Because Thompson Bowling Arena is going to bring a much larger seat venue.
That's the question.
Capacity.
Would it be a worthwhile conversation for the city of Knoxville to talk about redoing the Civic as a coliseum, as an arena that
they would have done it the same.
That has more
where
seats.
They've got it now, where we have an arena and an auditorium.
I mean, it's a piece of land. We could do whatever we want on it if we're going to do it. Like, renovate it, it's not really worth renovating to me. You can't get it bigger. Like, you can't make the Civic like the Ice Bears side.
I don't know if there's much of a need for it.
I don't know if there is or not. I think
it's just more just kind of needed revamped. Capacity, I think capacity was great. I've only been in the auditorium once or twice. I
saw Robin Williams. I saw Allman Brothers in the auditorium.
You said you were never. Never mind. Sorry.
I have not seen George Carlin. That's the one you keep saying.
Who the fuck did I go see that with?
I might have, dude. I've drank a lot of beer in my life, but I think a venue that compares in size or is a little bigger than Thompson. Get rid of the auditorium part of the Civic and make it a larger arena.
I don't think we need another.
You have your bull riding championships. You could do your fucking Bass Pro whatever thing that they do every year, and have the weigh-ins and stuff there. You could do tons of events in there that we can't do without Thompson.
They couldn't do it at Thompson.
What?
Shit, they could.
I mean, they do the fucking monster truck show in Thompson.
Actually, no. I think the weigh-ins for the Bass Pro, I think they were at Thompson. I'm sorry.
They might have been at Thompson. They might have been at whatever. They could have been in the World's Fair Park. I don't remember how that whole thing worked. But I'm just saying, like, it could be a very workable space to do a lot of things. To do concerts, to do sporting events, to do monster truck shows, to do bull riding shows. There's lots of events that work arena space that aren't just concerts. Concerts being one of them.
Right, those are bigger things. As I'm saying, I don't think we would need.
I think we're getting to the point where we have that demand. I think we're getting.
What markets have two things that are that large? Sorry, big markets. We're. I mean, Nashville's we're barely a medium.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty.
No, they got Bridgestone. That's it.
I mean, they don't have.
Who the fuck's playing the football stadium? Nobody's playing the football stadium.
Taylor Swift just played it.
The football stadium?
Yeah.
Okay, that's Taylor fucking Swift.
Just saying.
All right. And I would challenge you to look up and tell me at least like
did Taylor Swift
3 other times. Don't give a fuck. Tell me 3 other times that somebody else played in the football stadium in the past year.
In Nashville?
In Nashville.
I don't know. I don't fucking know. I mean, like, from what I understand, like
again, if this is going to be something to rival another large stadium, you got to show me that you've been bringing people to fill that said need. All
right, I'm trying to think of Major cities that have a university. Okay, so I mean, what's it? Phillips Arena in Atlanta?
Yeah, for the basketball place.
Yeah.
What about it?
I mean, there's Phillips Arena and whatever Georgia Tech has for their basketball team.
Okay.
I would say...
You imagine the capacity is similar? I'm going to tell you it's probably...
Well, I mean, okay, so yeah, Bridgestone and whatever Vandy has is probably not similar. You're probably right.
Okay.
But the one that the city owns is significantly larger than the one the university owns.
Right.
Not the inverse. That's my point. Is the city owns the big one. The big acts come through the city one, not the university one.
So Vanderbilt's been bitching since they've all of a sudden lost all the music.
I don't care. That's my point. That's
there.
exactly my point. I don't give a shit what Vandy thinks about it. I don't give a shit what UT thinks about it. Is if we want to put the venue in place because we want to host things as a municipality and not as a neighbor to a university, I'm not okay with us folding because the university doesn't want it. That's the point I'm getting to.
Right. I was pushing back just in the thought that it was going to be a competition too.
You have Memphis. Memphis has their UT Memphis basketball arena and the fucking pyramid.
Yeah. Wait, no, that's a Bass Pro Shop. Is that they play in there too?
Is that what it is now? I don't know. I don't remember. Like it was where the Memphis Grizzlies were playing.
Before that, it was like their convention center. I think that's what it initially was their convention center.
I mean, you ask a valid question, and it would be an interesting one to go in and look at cities that are between 400,000 and 700,000 residents. Well, I guess the city of Knoxville is only like 300,000. 250 and 750,000 residents in a city, and what amenities that they have available.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking Chicago's got like 4. New York's got 3. And I don't even know what their universities have. Like the city of Chicago has the United Center and like one other one that's significantly large. New York's got wherever the Nets play in Madison Square Garden. And those are 2 like full-size Bridgestone level arenas.
Yeah, Jets play in Jersey, right?
I don't know where the fuck they do. But I mean, or the Devils, or the Devils play. They play in...
They're in New Jersey.
I don't know. Anyway, moral of the story is like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Buffalo.
Yeah, the Islanders. The Islanders?
Yeah. Islanders and the Devils. The Jets. You had said the Jets. Did you hear Hartford? They're talking about moving Arizona Coyotes maybe to Hartford.
I hadn't heard that.
I saw that on the news today.
I thought I heard that the team announced that they were going to play in...
they're trying to figure out how to stay in Phoenix.
Whatever the name of that stadium is. They're basically playing in the college stadium. Mullet Arena. That's what it's called.
Nice. Anyway, the moral of the story is that for the municipality and what we do and what we want to do and the culture that we want to grow as a municipality, I don't like the idea that the university is saying no to things. And I strongly feel like the university said no to any conversation that's ever been brought up about making a better Civic. The Civic fucking sucks. It sucks.
I guess like I said, I just don't see what their worry would have been.
The university?
I don't think it would have hurt them. I think anything it would
give
them an opportunity to bring more things in.
If it was near capacity, you'd have an argument over who gets to host. As soon as they got alcohol in there, they a million things opened up to UT. And that's part of it too. Is that if City of Knoxville was smart, they would have gotten it done before alcohol got on campus. Because that was one of the things I remember talking to the owner of the Ice Bears about it. And this was years ago. Mike Mullen, I think it is. He was like, I can't tell you how many promoters come to me because that's the primary that's the primary tenant, the Ice Bears. They get to manage anything else that goes on in there. Tenants come to me and be like, hey, we were wanting to come to Knoxville. We were talking to Thompson, and we can't have alcohol. We're not going anywhere. We can't do alcohol sales.
Yeah.
And then I tell them what our capacity is, and they're like, guess we're not coming to Knoxville.
Yeah.
So I don't know who those people are that he was referencing in that story, but there are things that didn't come to Knoxville because we didn't have a place to put them. And now we do technically because Thompson. But I would rather the city of Knoxville make the profits from it, or some, whoever the primary tenant of that place is, make a chunk of that, than UT. They don't need more fucking money.
I never looked at our capacity. I mean, the Coliseum itself doesn't look like it holds a whole lot of people.
It's not big.
I can only barely picture the
It's
the auditorium.
It's like
I figure how
5,000.
big that is.
The Coliseum's like 5,000 for a floor event. So like for a hockey game where there's something on the floor, and then it's like 6,500 if you have floor seating, or something like that. All right. So before we go to close this out with the news of the weird, fuck, I forgot. Oh, AC's alive.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah, well, or somebody's got his phone and is texting us. I don't know. AC's not dead yet. So I don't know. We may have a full cast at some point. I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. He made contact. He texted words.
We catch him on the right rotation.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm mad about it, but it's a personal thing. So anyway, tell me tell me something cool. Tell me something real cool.
Headline is German surgeon fired after getting hospital cleaner to assist amputation. Officials in a hospital in Western Germany have expressed...
So wait, hold on.
Hold up.
So Germans call custodians hospital cleaners? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess.
I anyway, I apologize. Hospital cleaner, German authorities.
Yeah, there's many different designations for the same position.
Right, and I get it. I'm just saying,
janitorial, custodial.
I'm just saying, if you're in the mob, what's a cleaner in the mob?
A killer.
Yeah, he's the guy that cleans up the mess.
Oh,
that the mob boss makes. So the mob boss kills the guy. Well, you call in the cleaner because he cleans it up so the mob boss doesn't get caught.
Not necessarily. Sometimes the cleaner's just the guy that comes in after an actual assassin.
Yeah,
he's just the guy that
he cleans up the scene so that there's no evidence for the cops to come and get anybody in trouble.
Not the way I've been experiencing this.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
My understanding.
If you need a cleaner, we know somebody.
I'm just saying, if it's important to define terms here. So when you say hospital cleaner, I don't know if it's the guy trying to clean up after the hospital's messes. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway. German doctor's in trouble because he had a hospital cleaner help him with an amputation.
Yeah. Officials at a hospital in Western Germany have expressed regret after it emerged that one of their surgeons got a cleaner to assist in a toe amputation.
What kind of assistance? Is he handing them scalpels and shit?
The hospital's chief executive said the surgeon wrongly decided to go ahead with the routine procedure, even though no qualified assistant was available. When the patient, who received a local anesthetic, became restless, the doctor asked a nearby cleaner to hold the man's leg and pass surgical instruments.
Now, I've heard, my wife was telling me about this the other day, apparently that's a highly skilled job.
Us, a surgical technician?
The person that's got the tray of tools and the doctor says, give me the thing.
Surgical tech, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently that's a highly skilled job because
somebody that was that.
There's a very specific everything's got a number 2 this and a number 7 that.
Right, exactly.
And they're all the same.
You're
tool.
literally handing them the precise instrument they're asking for.
Right. There's it's all a scalpel, but it's a different length, it's a different width, it's a different cutting some surface.
Right. But I think as the tech, you're also responsible for kind of making sure those are cleansed prior to you putting it out there on that nice tray, but you organize it. But you're the one that's hey, give me this.
How hard is it to amputate a toe? How good pair of scissors and an iron, something hot.
Yeah, that's all there is to it.
I'm just saying it's not the best version of doing it, but you can get it done.
I mean, no.
I don't know. I'm just saying,
it's not like nerves and blood vessels you've got anything to worry about whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, you just, make sure you've got that shield over your face to make sure blood doesn't squirt on you, and get your big pair of scissors out and have someone else finish it when you're done. You have your nurse's assistant hey, sew that up. I'm done.
Well, I mean,
it
clip. Appears to be from the story that this was a 2-man job. Well, it was apparently a 1-man job until he called in the custodian and said, "This motherfucker keeps moving around. Hold him still, and hand me that knife."
Right. Yeah, I didn't read too far.
So apparently the doctor was feeling
an extra hand, but I guess the guy
I just need a little help.
I guess the guy was moving around, asked for help to hold the guy's leg down.
Yeah, I just need a little help holding this thing still.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did the guy lose his toe? Yes. Is the guy okay? Did he die?
No.
Okay, so he got his toe cut off.
I think it happened like 2020.
Sounds like it was a successful procedure to me. What's the complaint here? I guess my point in the whole my joking about this.
What's this mean to me?
My point is that like if the job gets done correctly, I don't care who does the job. Get it done right. I might ask for a discount because you're gonna tell me it's like $700 to do this thing when you have 3 people in the room doing the job and you only had one person in the room and a part-time guy. I might want to pay a little less.
Right.
But I didn't die. I got the job done correctly. What's the problem? That's all I'm saying.
That someone without any kind of medical training was a part of a medical procedure. I think it was kind of their big concern.
I mean, I was in the room when the kids were born. I have no medical training, but they let me in there. I was a hysterical mess.
Did you perform any medical duties as part of your
I held a newborn
there?
I held a brand new human being, and that should have some training to it, and they let me do that.
Okay. I mean, I'll give you that tiny bit of leeway, but at the same time, that's not something that's not granted often.
It's
a double negative. That is something that is granted very often.
Okay. I'm saying I'm not a professional. I was in the room.
Right.
I got to touch things I probably shouldn't be touching.
Are you assisting in a medical procedure, or are you holding your newborn child in your arms?
I mean, I had to hold my child down while they circumcised too.
Okay.
I was assisting in that procedure. I'm just saying.
I gave you a little something on that one.
I'm just saying. Like I don't like. I'm not saying it's a preferred method of things, but at the end of the day, if you have a good professional at the helm, and it can get the job done correctly, who cares who helps? Why is it an issue? Now, if there's a problem, if this guy got
you're right. You're right. We just anybody who wants to come help, sure.
If this guy got some crazy infection because the custodian came in with shit all over his hands and got his wound infected.
Oh, that's when things would become an issue, when we let someone. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you have the trusted person in charge who says, "Hey, I just need a little help with this one particular thing," and it's pretty much a minor thing when you get down to it. Make sure this leg doesn't move, and hand me that knife. I don't see the big deal.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Like I as a patient, I might be a little upset about it initially, and then I go, okay, well, my toe's off for whatever reason. I don't know why I got the toe amputated in the first place, for the story's sake. But my toe's off. It's bandaged up. It's healing well. The other doctors say that everything went well. What's the complaint? Who was hurt in this situation?
Oh, maybe I overglossed it, but I can barely see it in your rereading of it.
Okay. I mean, it's not ideal. I wouldn't prefer it. I wouldn't ask for it in that situation.
I don't think the guy had like a lawsuit hanging over his head, but
I'd be curious, like what's the actual complaint? Like, I mean, who complained about it? Like, why did it become an issue? Like, the custodian was like, "Hey, you guys need to pay me a bonus because I did this extra work."
I want to say, like I said, it was from like 2020. I think they found like video of the guy like holding gauze or whatever, and then someone was able to like backtrack and be like, "Wait, that's Jerry."
Okay. So the reality of the complaint here is that it's the assistant that should have been there complaining about not getting paid for a job that they should have been there to do.
No, don't think that was it at all.
I mean,
I think it was more just kind of like the head surgeon or whatever, or head of the medical guy at the hospital.
Was just randomly reviewing tapes of
I guess
surgeries
it came
for no reason.
Came to fruition, or maybe there was word around there. They're like, "Hey, did you hear? Bob helped out with a surgery last year or whatever. It held some guy's like leg down. Like he's trying to say he's medical staff or something." Now I don't know. Like I said, like these weird stories. There's not a whole lot of like background to it.
Well,
we kind of read into a lot of it.
Yes, we do. And suffice to say, I have many questions on this particular one because I've like I don't know. I don't see damage done here to suffice the plate.
I'm okay with it in like the odd case of where it meant something like local anesthetic. So I guess at some point maybe the guy was like writhing in pain.
I mean, or it's like the local
like
is
the rare
working
incident,
fine.
like you've literally got nobody else around you, and you're like, "Hey, you! Would you
Right. I'm
hold this like
I'm halfway through this. I can't stop now.
Right.
I need anybody to hold this thing still.
Right. Where it's like last resort,
Yeah.
like there's nobody else here. Like, hey, I need you, or else this guy's going to kick me in the face, and his toe's already half off.
Right. There's no turning back. We're at a no turning back point here.
Yeah, like this anesthetic's going to wear off here in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like a weird thing to apologize for too. Like again, what are you apologizing for? There's no complaint. The hospital is apologizing because this happened. You know what I'm saying though?
Did I say there was an apology?
I thought that was the what was the headline?
I think it was just like a guy getting in trouble for it.
But why did he get in trouble for
No,
it?
he was fired.
So he was fired for using an improper assistant.
Let's see here. Yeah, German surgeon fired. Yeah, I guess because he was the one that called this guy in. I guess if you're the lead on duty, you're responsible for anything that happens around you. You're like, hey.
And you successfully amputated a toe, you're fired.
Well, I mean, if somebody got sepsis, that's still going to come back on you, whether it went through well or not.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. If something bad happened and you did it correctly, you're going to get in trouble. If nothing bad happens and you did it incorrectly, you're going to get in trouble. Is the moral of the story here.
Which one is more favorable?
Nothing bad happening.
That's not an option.
So nothing.
You did what you did everything right and something bad happened.
Versus you didn't do it right, but nothing bad happens. Which one's more favorable?
No. Both those chances something bad happened.
Who said that? I didn't say that.
I'm giving you that example.
Okay, you do it. You do okay.
You had the example.
You do it right and you do it wrong, and something bad happens either way.
Right.
Then
I'm giving you the converse of you did something right, nothing bad happened. You did something wrong, nothing bad happened. I'm giving you the converse of something bad happened. You did it right, something bad happened, and in the opposite case, you did something bad and something bad happens. Which one is preferred? That the fact that you try to do something correctly and just have to do something bad.
But so realistically, you're getting sued either way if something bad happened. You're probably getting fired either way if something bad happened. So for the guy at
maybe so, maybe not.
You're getting
for the
sued
most
either
part,
way. Is the lawsuit going to win? That's a different question.
Right. I mean, they were essentially they did everything right. They did everything in their power to do something correctly, and then something inevitably ended up happening. You've got to show some kind of neglect for the most part.
Are you getting sued? Yes. Are you going to lose the lawsuit? Maybe. I agree.
Yeah.
But as the surgeon itself, you may not get fired if you did it correctly and something bad happened, but you're certainly going to be on a short lease for anything else for at least a little while. You're certainly going to get reprimanded, maybe not get a raise that you were coming up to or something like that. You're going to lose as the surgeon either way.
Possibly.
Maybe not fully lose, only a half loss, but it's not a good place to be as said surgeon. So
Possibly.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I don't see a victim if it went right.
Okay.
No victim, no crime, bitches.
Fuck that. Fucking stupid.
Maybe we should do a whole episode on that. Might be fun.
Victimless crimes. Sure.
Yeah. Because I think I think it'd be an interesting conversation about what a victim is. And I think that'd be worth having. Anyway, we're almost in agreement. Almostagreement@gmail.com. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Eventually, I'll have the voter guide 23 up because we do have an official field. A lot of elections. Everything is county or citywide, so it doesn't really matter where you live in the city. It's happening to you. Unless you're in District 5, you're stuck with what you got. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Hit us up there. Like, share, friend, follow. Tell everybody you know about us. I don't know, reference things. We're here to try to help. Hit us up with an email. Ask us questions. We probably don't know answers, but we'll at least talk about it. Yeah, that's what we do. That's the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you all soon.